The demand of Azure in the data space is growing exponentially, and everyone wants to crack an Azure data role in 2025. But we have so many services in Azure, and what are the ones for data domain? What are the required fundamental knowledge? And what are the best resources? All these questions will be answered today, because this 3 hours long video will cover all the fundamental knowledge required in Azure space, such as Azure cloud computing, types of cloud services, data fault tolerance in Azure, data redundancy policies in Azure. After this, we will learn about most in-demand tools in Azure, such as Azure SQL Database for structured data processing, Azure Cosmos Database for semi-structured data processing, Azure Data Lake for unstructured data, Azure Event Hub for real-time data processing, Azure Data Factory for ETL pipelines, Azure Databricks for data transformations, Azure Synapse Analytics for data warehousing solutions. This is your best guide to learn Azure in 2025, because you will cover all the concepts along with practical sessions. I have put so much of efforts and time to actually create this one-stop solution to provide you the best knowledge around Azure space related to data domain. So just hit that subscribe button and let's get started. What's up, my fam? Happy Sunday. And today's video, bro, as you all know, the hype of Azure, and as you all know, like the graph with which it is growing just up and up and up. So it is evident enough, and I do not need to just tell you why you should learn Azure, because Azure is very much in demand. In short, it is very much in demand, and it's all about supply and demand. Supply is very limited right now, and you have great opportunity to take advantage of it and just be in an in-demand data engineer with expertise in Azure as well. So today's video, let me just come to the point straight. Hey, by the way, just hit the subscribe button right now and just show some support to this channel if you are new. Because my data fam has already subscribed to this channel, and if you want to be the part of my data fam, just hit that subscribe button and just share that video with all your friends so that they can also get the advantage of this video, and rest of the things you will get to know along with this video. So let's get started. So basically, let's talk about Azure. We all know that Azure is very much in demand. Okay, so what this video will cover, I would say, almost everything that you would need to know as a data engineer who wants to grow the career in Azure space, or let's say the person is already in Azure data engineering space, but still this video will help that guy or that girl a lot. Reason? So the thing is, let's say you are already using Azure in your day-to-day activities, okay, but you would be using just 1 to 2 services, and that's it. But in order to get the in-depth knowledge in the Azure space, this video is for you, and this video will just guide you how you need to just dig deeper. And if you are new to Azure space, or if you just know a very little about Azure, this video is like a gold mine for you, because I have designed this video in such a way that will take you from the zero, from the basics, like I wouldn't even say basics, like from zero, and it will just keep on growing, and it will just give you strong hands-on with the skills. Yes, strong hands-on. The reason is we will be just covering most of the things with practical scenarios as well. So it's not just about like covering the theory. No, we are not just covering the theory. We will be covering practical scenarios as well. We'll be just creating the Azure resources. We'll be doing a lot of stuff. Trust me. We will also just create the free Azure account as well in this particular video, so that you can also practice all those things that I will be showing in this video. So this video will absolutely guide you through a lot of stuff within Azure. And trust me, you will be able to understand almost all the things that revolves around your data space when you just talk about Azure. Okay, so being a data engineer, if you are just kickstarting your career, or even if you are already in the Azure space, this video gonna help you a lot. So without delaying further, let's get actually see the prerequisites for this particular video. So as you know that we do not have a long list. Okay, So simply laptop or a PC with stable internet connection. Obviously, you should have this. Second thing is Azure account. And if you do not have one, I will just tell you how you can just get your free Azure account. Do not worry. So this is also done. Then the most important, excitement to learn Azure. Bro, you are learning an in-demand technology and companies are going crazy for Azure developers. So you should feel some exciting vibes around you if you're learning an in-demand technology. And trust me, by the end of this video, you will be able to just like work with Azure like a pro. Trust me. So this should be ticked by you right away. Otherwise, I don't think so you will be able to continue with this video. And if you just tick this particular prerequisite, then you are ready to become a pro Azure developer. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And don't worry, I will also provide you lots of resources along the video. Like we will be obviously talking about so many stuff, right? And I will just tell you a kind of resources that you can refer in order to gain deep knowledge for a particular resource. So this video is full of treasures. Okay, okay, perfect. So I hope that you have your notebook with you. Why? Because I always encourage my data fam to take notes, because you are not a superhuman that will just remember all the things. If you are, then you can just skip this part. Like you cannot, you do not need to just have a notebook. But if you are a normal human being, just take out your notebook and just start taking notes, because we will be just talking about so many stuff, so many concepts, and very much in detail. Okay, so without delaying, let's get started. And I hope that you have already hit that subscribe button, and if not, I don't know what you are waiting for. So just hit that subscribe button right now. Okay, so now I am just starting this video. First of all, Ansh Lamba, first of all, before even like forget about Azure, forget about everything. Just tell us like what is cloud? Why companies are going crazy after cloud, and what is cloud? We do not know what is cloud. Just tell us what is cloud first. So basically cloud, first of all, cloud is your central location to store the data. Okay, it is a central location to store the data. Okay, I will just explain all this stuff. Just be with me. So let's say your organization, or let's say even you, want to store some data, and you are using your own laptop, or let's say your own computer, where you will just store that data. Let's say you will say, I will just store that data in my laptop. Okay, so data will be there in this laptop. Okay, makes sense. So now let's say you want to access this data. How you can access that data? Obviously you would say, I will just turn on the machine and I will go to the laptop and I will just use that data. Makes sense, makes sense, because data is there in the hard drive, maybe HDD or SSD, depends upon the configuration of the laptop or computer. Makes sense. Now what if I say you are on vacation, okay, and you are in, let's say, in other province or in other state or even other country, and you want to use this data. Now you will say, hey, how I can just use this data? No, you have to use your data. It's really urgent. How you can just do that? How? Now you will say, obviously it is impossible until and unless you are carrying your laptop. That makes sense. So that means if I want to access my data, I have to carry that laptop everywhere I go. Exactly, exactly. So this problem, this is just the one application. Okay, this is just the basic application. Okay, so let's say you want a solution and you want a location in which you can insert your data. Okay, and you can use it from anywhere and anytime. That is your cloud. That is your cloud. So when you just put your data, let's say in cloud, here, this is your file. Okay, so now this data is in the cloud. What is cloud? Cloud is basically the location where you can just insert some data. Okay, okay. So now you will come, and if you are on vacation or let's say anywhere and you want to access this data, you can access this data with the help of internet. This is your cloud. This is your cloud, that you can use that data from anywhere at any time, and let's say from anywhere. This is your cloud. Cloud means a kind of repository where you can just dump all the data, all your data, and you can access it from anywhere and at any time without any restrictions, nothing. So now basically cloud solves this issue. Makes sense. So is it the only thing it does? Like only storage? Only storage? Is it only performing storage, or it just have like storage solution? No, no, no. That is why we have a concept called cloud computing. So as we just got to know that cloud provides us the solutions with the help of which we can just store our data and we can access it. Just imagine that you can do the same thing with your computation, or let's say computing resources as well. What do I mean? So for now, you were just using that particular, let's say, file that you uploaded in cloud. I am saying, let me give you let me give you another real life example. Let's say, let's say you are a video editor. Okay, let's say you are a video editor, or you want some high computing resources. You want high CPU, you want high processing power, you want high RAM, you want high storage as well, everything. So what you can do, you would definitely have a laptop. That's why you're just performing all those stuff. Okay, and this is the computation power that is there in that particular laptop. That is your own laptop. Again, if you are on vacation, if you are anywhere else and you are not carrying your laptop, and now you want to just use this laptop, why? Because this has high computation power. What will be the available options for you? What will be the available options? You would say, obviously I can just go to the shop and I can just purchase a brand new gaming laptop, or let's say high processing laptop, and I can just continue with my stuff and I can just do my work. Exactly, you will buy that stuff, right? Cloud computing says that we will be, it says, I will just provide you all the computing power, computing resources, and you do not need to pay me. What? For free? No, not for free. You just need to pay me till the time you are using those services. And it will be like, okay, let's discuss about this concept as well. We have a concept in the Azure domain, or let's say in, I think, all the cloud networks. So it is called pay as you go. That is why you would have seen this particular, oops, that's why you would have seen like this particular text everywhere whenever you just create your account. Pay as you go. I will just show you, don't worry, when you're just creating our free account. So this one, pay as you go. That means cloud computing, or let's say cloud provider, says I will just provide you all the computing services. You want, let's say, high processor. Okay, okay, high processor. I will just provide you high processor. I want high RAM as well. Let's say 32 gigs of RAM. So 32 GB RAM. Okay. I want Windows 11. Okay. Or let's say I want Mac. Okay. Or let's say I want 1 TB of storage. Okay. Makes sense. So I want all these things. I want all these things. Then what cloud provider will say? It will simply say, hey, I will just provide you everything, and I will just create a laptop for you, a machine for you that you can access with the help of internet, and you do not need to pay me for all these, let's say, resources, like all these resources. You will just pay me for the services that you will be using inside this machine until the time you are using. Wow. That means, that means, let's say you are on a vacation and you are on a vacation for 2 months. That means you can just rent the services for just 2 months. You do not need to just pay for the whole machine for a brand new machine. Got it? I hope this real life analogy can make you understand this concept. Now let's understand like why organizations are going crazy and what else we get with the help of Azure, or let's say with the help of cloud. So it is like interchangeable. I can either use Azure or cloud, same thing. Okay, cloud is just the provider, or sorry, Azure is just the cloud provider. So whenever I say Azure or cloud, it means they are like interchangeable. Okay, so why companies are going crazy after cloud developers, and why they want everything to be migrated on cloud? Why? First of all, let's say there is a startup. Okay, there's a new organization and they want to just create their IT department, obviously, because every organization needs IT department, right? Okay, so they want to just set up their IT department, and it's a small startup. So they have figured out like they would require at least, let's say, 50 computers, or let's say 50 laptops. Okay, 50 laptops mean like 50 developer level laptops, 50 developer level, like high processing, high RAM, everything high. And they are like buying these laptops for the uh, developers, let's say software developers, or let's say data engineers as well. So let's say they want 50 laptops, and it can be like machines which will be handling their workload, like anything. Okay, so they will be just using 50 laptops. Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Okay, but they have only one option. They can go to the shop and they can just purchase these 50 laptops. And the thing is, these 50 laptops are just for the development purpose. Okay, makes sense. That means in the first quarter of the year, let's say they will be using only 20 laptops. Okay, but during their high season sale, they will be using maybe more than 50 laptops. It can be like, let's say, 80 laptops. So there is inconsistency with the numbers. There is inconsistency with the processing power as well. Maybe we do not need the same processing power. So being the owner of an organization, I would simply go to cloud provider and I will simply say, hey, I want 50 machines. How many? 50 machines. And I want these configurations. Like I can just tell the configurations. Like I want these configs, and just providing 50 machines. Cloud computing, or let's say cloud provider, will simply say, hey, I can just provide you 50 machines and you can just enjoy. It will simply say, okay, here is your order ready. And whenever I want to pause these machines, I can pause. Whenever I just want to turn on, like turn them back on, I can just do that. So it's up to me. It's up to me. This is your cloud computing. Now the thing is, let's say, like, how they're just providing us machines. How like how they're just doing these things. So they have something called as data centers. This is the whole picture. This is the whole picture. And obviously you would know the popular cloud providers. We have, let's say, like, I'm just writing it for you. I hope that you would know Azure, AWS, and GCP. These are the three major cloud providers right now. So how they do these stuff? How they can just ask us, hey, just run these services from us, just run these machines from us? How many machines they have, like, and how we can just do this? So basically, they have data centers in which they have servers, in which they have remote servers. So whatever we ask them to, let's say, create a virtual machine, or let's say create a machine for us, or let's say we want 1 TB of storage, what, like, how they do, they have something called as, let's say this is a data center, they have something called as data centers. and really big data centers, really big data centers, really big data centers, in which they have something called as servers, remote servers, and they just configure everything for us using these remote servers, and they give us the access through the endpoints, and we access those endpoints with the help of internet. Yes, this is the story behind cloud computing. So they have servers, they have data centers, and they have like so many computing resources. We just rent those resources, and they have like so many servers, so it is very easy for them to upscale our demand, or let's say downscale our demand. So in short, cloud provider is a is the way to provide on demand computing resources. This is the simplest definition. It provides us on demand computing resources. Okay, now you would be saying, hey Ansh, Lamba, let's say we have just stored our personal data, which is very sensitive, and we are just storing the data in their data center. What if it can be stolen? Really? Bro, have you ever seen a data center? Have you ever seen a data center? Data center has, like, I would say, the most secure way of, let's say, they have like high level of security there in the physical form, in the, let's say, virtual form, everything. So you cannot even imagine the level of security, the level of, let's say, strictness that they have within their data centers as well. So it is like quite impossible to just steal the data from the data centers, and that is why organizations are smart enough to put their data, so it is absolutely safe. And second best thing, just tell me one thing: what if a data center receives a kind of natural disaster? Then you would say, hey bro, now this time it is not stolen, now this time it is not stolen, and natural disaster is not in anyone's control. So what will happen in that particular scenario? I will just talk about that scenario as well. Don't worry. I have like dedicated slides and dedicated area of focus for those particular questions as well. I know, like, now you have like lots of questions around your head. So do not need to worry. Do not need to worry. This is just the basic definition of cloud computing and your Azure. So let's see the next thing that we have in cloud computing, and it is called the types of services within cloud computing. And it is really important. It is really important. Let me just tell you what's that. So now let's talk about the types of cloud services. So as you would know that I'm so sure that you would have heard about these terms before as well. So now let me just start from the right. First of all, we have on-prem. First of all, let's talk about on-prem. On-prem means everything is built on your machine, your personal laptop, your laptop, or let's say your personal servers. You own the servers. So you can just do all the things, and you are responsible for all the stuff. That means if you want to scale them, so you will be just upgrading the servers. If you want to just, let's say, attach another machine, you will be just doing that. So you will be taking care of all the things, all the things. So as we just talked about that, we have real physical servers in the data centers. But in case of on-prem means no cloud. No cloud means obviously you are the owner of the servers, and you can just make your own cloud, and you can just access it as per your demand, as per your requirements. You can just generate your own IP addresses, and you can just connect with that particular server accordingly. So there's no responsibility by any cloud provider. Okay, makes sense. Now these are the three major services that we have in cloud, that we have in Azure. Obviously services are same, and types of services are also same. That's why we say that when you learn one cloud technology, it's very easy to migrate to another one, because services remain the same. Just a little bit of, you can say, movement will be there, maybe in terms of UI and some other naming conventions, but fundamentals and you can say that the real functioning will be the same. First of all, let's talk about the IaaS. So IaaS stands for infrastructure as a service. Okay, infrastructure as a service. That means Azure will provide you just the infrastructure. That's it. A very good example of IaaS is virtual machine. So let me just type it for you. We don't have much space. Virtual machine. So when we create virtual machines in Azure or in any cloud platform, let's talk about Azure. So when we create virtual machines in Azure, we just get, we just request the infrastructure. Okay. So let's say you requested Azure that you want to create a virtual machine and this is your Azure. Okay. This is your Azure. Let's type it with blue. This is your Azure. So you will request that, hey, create a virtual machine for me. Makes sense. So what Azure will do, Azure will find a space in its real physical servers. Server is basically a computer with you can say powerful configurations, which is designed, which is built in such a way that can handle heavy workloads, that can be turned on 24/7 without any interruption, without anything. So this is just a computer with powerful computation. Okay, so it will just find a server in its data center, and if it finds, obviously it will be very easy for Azure to find. So it will just create a computer, or let's say a machine with the configurations that you have demanded. Okay, and it will be running that machine 24/7 for you. If you do not turn it off, it will be running 24/7, and it will create an endpoint and it will give that endpoint to you, and it will be called as virtual machine. Okay, it will be called as virtual machine. So when you requested virtual machine, you just requested the infrastructure. Once the machine is ready, Azure will not be responsible for any kind of upgrades, any kind of additions, anything. It has just created the virtual machine. Now it's your responsibility to handle that. So this means you are just requesting infrastructure. So now let's see this sharing thing that we have. So sky blue color means it will be managed by Microsoft. The dark blue means it will be managed by you as a customer. So you will be responsible for this thing, information and data, obviously whatever data you are just uploading, device and PCs, obviously, then accounts and identities, identity and directory, perfect, that makes sense, applications that you will be installing within that virtual machine or anything, networking controls, and then OS. Let's say you are just installing Ubuntu, then you are installing Windows, then Mac, so it's up to you. Only these things will be managed by Azure. Physical host, physical network, physical data center, that's it. That's it. But when we used PaaS, that means platform as a service, we actually demand for platform. What does it mean? Okay, let me explain. A very good example of platform as a service is Azure SQL Database. Azure SQL Database. This is a PaaS, that means platform as a service. So we are requesting, hey bro, can we just get this application? It will say yes. And what is the best thing about PaaS? So all these things, all these three things which were 100% managed by you, now will be managed by both, by you and cloud, both, such as applications, network controls, identity and directory infrastructure. Let's say network controls. What do we mean by network control? So if we want to make our application accessible, we can just, like, obviously we want to make our application accessible. Let's say we want to make our application accessible to everyone. We can just ask, hey, just create the application, just create this platform, and just make it accessible to public. So it will just create a public endpoint. If we just say, hey, just create this resource, but networking should be really strict, and I do not want anyone to use it other than me and my teammates, that's it. It will create a private endpoint for you. So you can configure the networking part. Don't worry, I will just tell you how you can just configure networking part. Everything will be just shown to you in just few minutes. So I'm just building your ground level knowledge so that you can actually understand like what we'll be doing in Azure when we will be creating our Azure free account. Okay. So this is like you are just sharing some responsibilities. You are telling them what to do and they are actually implementing it, but you are responsible as well and they are responsible as well to implement it. So this is like shared responsibility. Now the best thing is SaaS. This is awesome. This is your software as a service in which you do not need to manage anything. You just need to manage about data. Obviously whatever you will be pulling or like putting or pulling from the application, mobile and PCs. Obviously if you are just using any application, so you will be taking care of your own PC or own mobile in which you are just accessing that, because it will not say, hey, I will just also provide you a brand new Mac Air or let's say MacBook Pro to just use our application. No, it will not just provide us anything. Okay, until and unless you are an employee. Okay, employee of okay accounts and identities, obviously. So whatever account you are creating within that application, you need to take care of it. These are like common sense. You cannot request these things, bro. Come on, you cannot request these things. You cannot say, hey, I'm just using your application, just send me the brand new laptop as well. Okay, so these will be done by you, but other than that, everything will be taken care by Azure. A very good example of this, and I want to take this example, it is because it is very popular nowadays. It is called Microsoft Fabric. Wow, yes, it is an SaaS, software as a service, in which you do not need to worry about upgrades. You do not need to worry about data configurations. You do not need to worry about storage, nothing. Everything is done by Microsoft. You just need to handle the accounts. You just need to handle your machines in which you will be just accessing their application. That's it. That's it. That's it. That is why it is the future. That is why it is the, I wouldn't say future, like near future. It is almost there, bro. It is almost there. Okay, so these are the three major types of cloud services that we get with Azure: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And I have just given you some of the popular services as well within Azure network that we use within these three spaces. So it is your fundamental area. You should just master it and just have some time and just read some documentation. I wouldn't say like read documentations. This is a basic understanding that you should always have whenever you just create the resources. Okay, makes sense. Let's see what we have next in our video. Now let's talk about the fault tolerance in Azure. So I'm very excited to answer to your question. So you were saying that, let's say one data center is damaged, right? Let's say the data that you are inserting in the cloud, and let's say that particular data center is not working, maybe due to any kind of natural disaster. Question is very valid, because obviously being an owner of the data, and you know that your data is very valuable, plus it is very sensitive, then you cannot take risk, right? So how Azure make sure the fault tolerance? How? Let me just tell you, and this will be a very deep talk right now. So just be with me. First of all, let's say you are using this particular data center. Okay, you are using this particular data center, or let's say Azure is using this particular data center to create your resources. This is the primary data center. So let's say you requested something. Okay, you requested that I want a VM, or let's say I want a SQL DB, Azure SQL DB. Okay, anything. So obviously behind any kind of resource there are servers. There's nothing magical in the air. There are physical servers. Let's say that particular machine, that particular server is residing there in this particular data center. Okay, makes sense. So what Azure will do, it will create a replica. It will create a replica of your particular resource or that particular server to the other data center as well. Yes, not only this, it will create another replica of the resource in the third data center as well. So let's say due to any kind of natural disaster, this particular data center is down due to any kind of natural disaster, due to maybe a kind of hurricane, earthquake, anything, this data center is not working. Okay, so the next data center, which will be obviously be far away from this data center, at least few kilometers, I'm so sure. Okay, so now what we can do, we can continue using our services using this particular data center. Okay, now let's say this data center is also down due to any kind of reason. Okay, then you can just use this data center as well, this data center as well. So you have like three options available to use your data. Okay, Ansh, Lamba, fine, but we are still not convinced. Really? Okay. Now you will say, hey, we have a major disaster, okay, in which all the data centers are affected. All the data centers, the whole city, the whole city is affected. That's a very big deal, by the way, but still, let me just take your words. If the whole city is affected, now what you will do? Now how you can just use the resources? Okay, we have a solution, bro. So the solution is, we have something called as data availability zones. Wow, that means now your zone can also be available to a different zone. So this is called as availability zones. So let's say your whole zone is affected. Let's say this whole zone is affected. That can be the scenario, bro. Yeah, that can be scenario. We can just take the worst case scenario. Okay, this whole zone is affected, whole city is affected. Don't worry, we have something called as zone B, in which we can just use the services because it is also connected to this zone as well. Sorted, sorted. Makes sense, makes sense. Are you convinced now? No, I know you are still not convinced. Now you will say, Ansh, Lamba, what will happen if the whole region is affected? Bro, do you know the meaning of whole region? It's a very big thing, by the way. The whole region is affected. But still, let's say the whole region is affected. By the way, in one country, we just get, I think, 3 to 4 regions, that's it. But if you are saying the whole region is affected, still, we will provide you something called as region pairs. Region pairs. What this will do? What this will do? It will simply say, bro, if your whole region is affected, if your whole region is affected, we will simply use something called as region pairs, and we will simply create the replica of your data, replica of your resources in the other regions as well. Now just tell me, now just tell me, are you convinced? Obviously, bro. So that is why Azure gives us the availability up to 99.995%. Okay, 99.995%. Yes. So this is the data redundancy. This is the data fault tolerance we have within this. So, like, is it so easy to just configure these things? Yes, it is easy, but we have some policies for these things. Policies, yes, we have some policies. Let me just tell you what are the 4 policies that we have if you want to, because obviously, not now you as a data owner, you do not need to worry about like replicate your data to the different regions. Why you would be paying for that thing? Bro, you do not need to pay for anything. We are not asking you to pay for anything. We are only asking you to pay only when you want to follow that policy. So let's say you are creating a resource. So if you want to just create a replica of your data till zone level, you will use a different policy. If your data is really critical, then you will create, or then you can just create the policy till region level. Okay, it's all up to you. Now let me just show you the 4 policies that we have within Azure that make sure that data redundancy is there. Let me just tell you. Let's look at the first policy, and this is the cheapest option, and I will also be using this particular policy when I'll be creating the resources within Azure portal. So basically LRS, that means locally redundant storage. What is this? So basically, as I just mentioned, that we can have multiple data centers, but before going to multiple data centers, it creates something called as replication within the data centers. So let's say you have one data center. So this is one data center. It will simply create multiple copies within the data center, because if you ever see a picture of a data center, it basically stores the servers in the racks. Racks are nothing but like similar to shelves. So it can just simply say, hey, rack number A, or let's say rack number 1 is for your resource, and then after 2 racks it will just create the replica of that particular data to the different rack as well, because sometimes due to some heating effects, racks rack only rack, not the whole data center, only some racks, few racks, let's say, are not working fine. And it can be due to any reason, not just about heating. It can be due to any reason. So in that particular case, you do not even need to go to a different center, because we have some replication um, there in the within the data center as well, and it is called locally redundant storage, where your copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, that means in total 3 copies will be there. Yes, in total we get only 3 copies, and it will be distributed within the data center, that is your LRS. And we have one common name as well for this. It is called availability zones. Oh, not availability sets, not zones. Oops, let me just rewrite it. Availability sets. It's called availability sets, not availability zones, remember it. So availability sets is not a popular name for it. LRS is the most popular name, so that's why I didn't want to confuse you earlier, but now you understand the concept, so now I can just introduce this similar concept, similar to available zones. Okay, now what is the next policy? And we all know that if we just want to access data within the zone, right? So we have a policy called ZRS, zone redundant storage. Zone redundant storage. So let's say your whole data center is not working. Your whole data center is not working. So it can simply go to the next zone. And in this particular scenario, and not in this particular scenario, usually we just set up one data center within zone, usually. But that's not the mandatory thing, because now we have just started storing multiple data centers within one zone as well, because of land issues. But just to keep it simple for the understanding as well, and this is the best way to understand the concept, because we have some tricky ones coming in just few seconds. So that is why consider only one data center within one zone. That means if one data center is failed, that means we do not have any other data center, we will simply contact the other zone. This is called ZRS or ZRS, zone redundant storage. So this is a little bit expensive than LRS, because obviously you are just getting more security over your data, right? Okay, now what is the next one? Obviously we have just studied that, but actually not. That is a tricky one in terms of policies. So the policy is GRS. Policy is GRS, geo redundant storage. Okay, and we already know that we can have one region, okay, and we can connect it to the other region. Very good, all set. But GRS creates LRS within the region. That means your 3 copies, first of all, just understand, let's say you have one resource. Okay, let me just write it for you. This is a tricky one, so don't worry if you're not understanding everything right now. I will just make you understand. So let's say you have resource 1. It will first create 3 copies within the same region, okay, and within the same data center. There will be no zone, there will be nothing, okay, just one data center in one region, but that will be connected to the different region, and 3 copies will be there in the other data center as well. Simple. There is no picture, there is no entry of zone here. Just straightforward, one region, one data center connected to second region, second data center. That's it. That's it. Okay. So this is obviously more expensive than the ZRS. Do you want to see the most expensive one? We have one more. Okay, and that is the most secure, bro. That is the most secure way. So this is called GZRS, Geo Zone Redundant Storage. This is expensive, and this is really cool. Why? Because it will first take your data, or let's say your resource. It will create 3 copies of the data, and it will just distribute that particular object within the data center, and will create 3 copies. Okay, this part is similar to the previous one, GRS. But in other region, it will distribute your data, and it will create 3 copies and distribute among 3 different zones. That is why it involves zone in the other region instead of just a data center. That is why you can see in first region, it will simply create your 3 copies within the regions, within the different regions, like within different zones, within the same region. See, within the same region, 3 copies within different zones, and just one data center and 3 copies in other region. Simple. And obviously this is the most secure way to create the replica of your data, and let's say replica of your objects. And this is the most expensive one, GZRS. Bro, these questions will be there in your interviews, trust me, because all these things are strongly aligned to the cost that company bears. And being a data engineer, you should know these things. Obviously data architects will be there who will be designing the solution, but now competency level is really high, so they expect you to know all these things, because not every organization hires data architecture, or let's say he will not be available in all the things. Maybe you will be there to just guide them. Okay, so you should have all this knowledge sorted. I hope now you know all the data redundancy options and everything, and I know now you are like really excited to actually deploy these things and actually see this. So without wasting time, let's create our free Azure account and let's see all these stuff, and let's actually explore data services, storage services, everything within Azure. Let's see. So in order to create your free Azure account, the steps are really easy. You simply need to go to Google and just type Azure free account. Okay, and then just click on the first link, and then you will just land on this page. Now, by the way, now you know the meaning of this thing, right? Try Azure for free and pay as you go. Now you know the concept as pay as you go. Like, what is this pay as you go? That means you just need to pay for the services, and you will be just paying for the amount that you will be consuming, and you will be just paying for the resources that you will be consuming. That's it. And obviously, if you're just consuming it for like a month, you will be just paying for a month. Otherwise, you can just stop the services. By the way, this is just a free account, so you do not need to worry about pay as you go. If you want to upgrade your account in pay as you go, you can, because obviously you can just explore so many stuff after that. But for now, we are just creating try Azure for free. So just click on it, and then I think it will just ask you for the email ID, I guess. Let's see. Yeah. So now you just need to enter your Microsoft account. Obviously, you should have a Microsoft account. It can be your Outlook account as well, not a big deal. So if you do not have one, you can simply go to this link and just create one. Once you have that email account, just enter your email account here, then just click on the next. Okay. Once you do that, you will simply see a kind of form that you need to fill your name, your details, your address, everything. And at the end, you will see a button called sign up. Once you hit on that button, once you hit that button, sign up, you will be asked to provide your personal details along with some card details. Do not need to worry. You will be saying, hey, we have just picked the free services. Why it is asking for the card details? It is not asking for you to just pay for anything. It is just confirming that you will be the one who will be using the services, because Azure provides you 200 USD to consume within 30 days, and you can actually use those services with that account, and you do not need to pay for anything. So once 30 days are over, your all the services will be nullified. It will not charge you anything after 30 days. No, but you will have an option. If you want to upgrade your account to pay as you go, you can, but it's up to you if you do not want to do that. So it's a personal choice, but you will not be charged. So do not need to worry. If you are just feeling hesitated, if you should Just provide the details like regarding card and all. Do not need to worry, bro. Just go for it. It will not charge you anything, and obviously you can just use 200 USDs after that. Once you have just created a portal account, your Azure account, let me just take you to the Azure portal and let me just show you how it look like and how you will be just doing everything within that portal account. Let me just show you. So now let's go to Azure portal. Okay, and in order to just go to Azure portal, you just need to just type one simple URL. It's called portal.azure.com. Okay, just click, and then you obviously need to provide the email ID that you have just created, that is your Azure account. So just put that email ID here and then just click on next. So when you click on that next button, you will just land on this page and welcome to our Azure portal. I know you gonna love this portal. First of all, I love the UI of Azure. Trust me, when I was just when I was just like about to enter in the cloud data engineering domain, I had three options: Azure, AWS, GCP. I just decided based on the UI. I didn't like UI of AWS. I didn't like the UI of GCP. I loved the UI of Azure. I was like, let's go with it, bro. Let's go with it. Obviously, bro, because all the cloud like providers are same. And I love the UI and I'm a big fan of UI. So if I love the UI, I just go with it. Otherwise, so by the way, jokes apart, this is your homepage. Let me give you a quick overview of this homepage. First of all, do not worry at all if you see something different here, because these are the Azure services that I was using before creating this video. So this can be different. So you do not need to worry. Okay. And obviously recent tab and favorite tab, it makes sense. It is self-explanatory. Makes sense. Okay. The major area of this Azure homepage is this particular ellipse. So just click on this. Oh, wow. So this is basically your go-to area whenever you want to do something. By the way, trust me, you will only be using this area for just 3 to 4 to 5 services. Other than that, you will not be using this area. But still, let me just give you an overview of this area as well. So as you can see, first of all, we have some things called as dashboard and services. What is that? By the way, Ansh Lamba, can't you see this? Okay, create a resource. First of all, whatever Azure service we use, we call it as a resource. If I am creating a virtual machine, I will call it as a resource. If I am just creating Azure SQL DB, I will call it as a resource. If I am just creating a data lake, I will call it as a resource. So resource is nothing but a service that we use from Azure. Make sense? We just have a fancy name for it. Resource, right? The same name that I have, like Ansh. I just have a fancy name. Other than that, I'm just a human being, right? So yeah, resource is just like service that you're using. That's it. Then dashboard. What is that? Is it like similar to Power BI dashboard or something like that? No. Nothing like that. So this is a dashboard that can help you manage and collectively store your all the resources according to the projects. I have rarely used this area, but if you want to organize your resources and if you want to just, I know like girls will be doing it, I'm so sure, because they do like everything organized. Boys are a little bit messy. So you can just click on dashboard and then you can just organize your resources accordingly. Okay, this project will use these resources, this project will use these resources. So it's just for that particular purpose. Okay, then we have something called as all resources. So all the resources will be listed in this particular section. If you have created, let's say, 10 resources, everything will be there. Now, Ansh Lamba, what is this? Resource groups, another fancy term, not a fancy term. Let me just tell you what is a resource group. And I would just take you to an image which will actually make you understand the hierarchy of Azure. It is very, very important. So it's like easily available. I can simply type Azure resource group hierarchy. If I just get the right documentation. Yep. So let me just explain you what happens. So this is the image that I was looking for. Can I zoom it? No, it cannot be magnified. Yeah. So basically, basically, at the top, This is your tenant. This is your tenant. Tenant is nothing but your, let's say, a kind of owner of that particular platform. Make sense? Okay, let me just give you an example. If you're working in an organization, okay, they would be having a tenant. They would be having an email account with, let's say, @abc.com, @xyz.com. Okay, so that particular domain is your tenant, because that is owning the whole platform. Okay, so at the top it is your tenant, and in this particular case it is your email account that you have just created, so it is your tenant. It is your tenant. Okay, Azure automatically creates a tenant account for us. If you just go to your account, you will see like this is your tenant. Okay, then within our account we have something called as subscriptions. Okay, why do we need subscriptions? Why? Simple question. We need subscription. Let's say you are working in an organization. Okay, within an organization we may have multiple departments. We may have, let's say, HR department, IT department, finance department, marketing department, and many more departments, right? So we want to make monthly bills for different departments. We do not want to just mix up the things. And if you are just working in a consultancy firm, then obviously if you're just managing their Azure portals as well, then obviously you need to just provide, hey, this is your bill, hey, this is your bill, hey, this is your bill. So it allows us to just keep the resources separate from the other, you can say, departments. So one department is isolated from other department. That is the key role of subscription. Makes sense. Now, finally, what is this resource group, Ansh Lamba? What is this resource group? So if you want to understand this term, let me just make it very simple. Resource group is a folder. Really? Yes. Resource group is just a folder. So as I just mentioned that everything that we use from Azure, everything, Data Factory, what is Data Factory? Okay. Virtual machine, Azure SQL DB, any resource, right? So all those resources should be placed somewhere. So that particular folder is called as resource group, in which we just put those resources. So let's say I have created this virtual machine. Okay. Then let's say I have created this table. Then let's say I have created this SQL DB. So I will be storing these resources somewhere called resource groups. So resource group is nothing but a folder which holds your resources. That is called resource group. And that is the whole hierarchy. Simple. Very good. Just draw this hierarchy. And if you're just using any kind of iPad or like digital notes taking application or your device, you can just save this hierarchy. It will be very helpful. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Very good. So now you know the concept of resource groups and all. Very good. Then we have some of the popular resources listed here. Some of the popular resources, as you can see, SQL database, Cosmos database. Don't worry, I will just tell everything. Storage accounts, everything. So this was all about resources. Then we have something very important here. What is that? Microsoft Entra ID. By the way, it is just renamed from Azure Azure Active Directory. Okay, it was earlier referred with this name, Azure Active Directory, but now it is known as Microsoft Entra ID. This is your one single solution in which you can just manage all the users of your organization, all the groups of your organizations, all the service principals of your organizations, all the service groups of your organizations, all the external users of your organization. Everything. This is the admin portal, a kind of admin portal where you can just like where can you can say an platform admin, or let's say Azure admin can take care of these things. So this is the go-to area for that particular person, and he will be just managing all the you can say accesses and everything. Okay. Then we have something called as monitor. As the name suggests, we can just monitor our resources with the help of this. Then we have cost management plus billing. You can just manage Obviously, if you're just using free account, you do not need to worry. But let's say you are just working as a data engineer and in an organization, you should just take care of some billing and all. If you're just working in a bigger firm, then obviously you will not be taking care of it. Solutions designer or architects will be taking care of it. But if you're just working with a startup, okay, then obviously you can just take care of those things, because the best thing about working in a startup is you will be able to wear multiple hats, and that's why your scope of knowledge will go up, because you can just do lots of stuff, because you will be the one who will be doing it. So there are basically perspectives. One person will feel, hey, why I just need to do this stuff which is not familiar, let's say not directly aligned to my role, but other person will say, hey, if I just do this thing, I can learn this as well. And life is all about learning, bro. Life is all about learning. You came here, you started learning from the day one. You started English alphabets, A, B, C, D, and whatever alphabets in your language, and till now you are learning. How many days you have just spent in just learning? Every single day, bro. So life is all about learning. Do not behave like this in the corporate, or do not behave like this when you know like this is your domain and this will help you to grow. Just say, okay, this is the work, I can do that. Just, okay, it's your responsibility to make me understand. That is a different story. But I am okay to learn this, because obviously not everything was relevant to my domain. Whatever years I have spent in my school, I cannot say that all those years were relevant. I'm not just um, finding some integration and what was the word? Differentiation. Yeah, integration and differentiation in mathematics that I did in 11th and 12th is strictly aligned to my role. No, but still, I learned it, right? I know that I do not remember all the things now, but still, I learned it. I used it, and phase is over. Now I'm in different phase. So life is all about learning and phases, bro. So enjoy every phase. So at the end, help plus support. If you just feel stuck anywhere, just disturb Microsoft. Just say, hey, bro, what you are doing, bro? My this thing is not working. That thing is not working. They will just take care of everything. Help plus support. Just feel free to DM. Feel free to just reach out to them. Okay. So this was your quick overview of Azure, and now let's talk about some real stuff. So why did I say that you will not be using this area? Let me just tell you. So our go-to area will be this search button, or let's say search bar. Whatever you want to search, whatever you want to use, you just need to come here, search the resource, done. Done. So first of all, as you know that we would need a resource group first in order to do something, in order to do anything. So let's create a resource group, and then we'll be creating some let's say resources within them. Okay, so let's create a resource group first. Obviously I can click on this as well, but it might not be available in your case because you would not have used resource group before. So just to help you, bro, just search here and just type resource group. Okay, then click on this one. Then don't worry, I have some resource groups that I have created before. Simply click on plus create. Okay, then you just need to pick a resource group name. So let's say I am just picking Azure Fundamentals. Azure Fundamentals. Make sense? Then simply say review plus create. Simple. Create. Then click on go to resource. You can either go to resource from here, or you can simply search resource groups, and then you can just find your resource group. So I can simply click on this. This is my resource group. Ansh, this is empty. Yeah, I know. Did you create something? No. Obviously, then obviously it is empty, right? So we will create something, but before that, I just want to distinguish between data storage solutions that we have in cloud. Then we'll be just seeing like how we can just work with data storage solutions within Azure. Let me just show you. So let's talk about the data formats, because obviously you are just becoming a data engineer, and if you are already a data engineer, you would know about the data formats. And obviously cloud gives us the solution to deal with all the data formats, right? So obviously this is the most popular one. This was the most popular one. I cannot say like this is the most popular one because okay. Structured data. Obviously, bro. So structured data means your data is stored in the form of columns and rows. This data has proper structure, proper schema, all the data types, all the constraints, everything fixed. Everything fixed. This is called structured data. And this is the data that was really, really popular before cloud, or I can say before big data. Because obviously cloud was just a solution to big data. And obviously there were some other considerations as well. But yeah, one of the major, you can say, the key reason behind the growth of cloud is like big data, right? So when big data was entering into the market, structured data realized, okay, bro, the popularity will be really, really down in the future. So that is the result. Structured data is not much in use right now for data engineers. I'm not talking about DBAs or database analysts or let's say database administrators, because obviously we store transactional data in the form of structure, or let's say in structured data format. So that is a different side. I'm just talking about data engineering side. Okay, makes sense. That is the difference that you should know. Okay, so structured data means your data will be stored in SQL tables. Make sense? Yeah, SQL tables. Then with the growth of data, we have something called as semi-structured data. Semi-structured means it has some structure, but it is not fixed. Very good example is very good example is JSON data, in which we have key value pairs. We have something called key value pairs, and I will just show you. Don't worry, that is our next step. So key value pairs, we have data stored in the key value pairs, and we can obviously just make use of this data. This data is really, really popular right now because we can just evolve our data with the time, and we have some structure as well, so we can query this data as well. So this is the most popular one. Then unstructured data. Unstructured data is becoming more and more popular with the rise of AI, with the rise of data science. Why? Because obviously you are just seeing that people are just using text to image converter, or so many different models such as DAL-E. There are, I think, more than like hundreds of models already built. So that are all working on unstructured data. So let's say you are just uploading an image and you are just asking AI model, hey, just give me insights from this image, or just create another image using this image as a prompt. So they all are using unstructured data. We do not have any structure. Data can be in the form of, let's say, images, videos. Yeah, very good example can be, let's say, lots of AI tools, or let's say applications are just giving you an option in which you can just upload a video and it will just summarize the chapter, basically summarize everything that has been taught in that particular video. So that is a good thing. So all those things are working on the base of unstructured data. Azure provides us all the solutions, and it allows us to work with all these things easily. And we have so many services within Azure that we can use to deal with these things. And we have the most popular one. I will just show you, don't worry. So let's go to Azure portal directly, and let's create some resources, and let's actually see like what we can do. Let me just show you. So I am here in my Azure portal, and I have opened my resource group. So now let's create a resource, and first of all, let's try to see what are the options available to deal with the structured data in Azure. Obviously, the very popular service is Azure SQL DB. It is very much similar to your MS SQL Server, your MySQL, your PostgreSQL, everything same, but the difference is it is on cloud. Don't mind it, bro. I'm really hungry. It is on cloud, and this is like your all the other workbenches are on your prem, like on premise. Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? So that is the only difference. Other than that, I don't think so there's any difference. And in terms of performance, Azure SQL Database is better because it can just handle your big data efficiently. And obviously, cost is high as compared to unstructured, semi-structured solution. But we are not talking about that thing right now. We are currently focusing on Azure SQL DB. And when I'll be just telling about those things, then we just take those all the considerations. Okay, Azure SQL DB. And just be with me because this is a little bit tricky to just enable Azure SQL database. Otherwise, you'll be facing some errors if you want to query some data within this. That is a drawback. So just click on create. Okay. When you just click on create within a resource group, it will open a marketplace for you from where you can actually pick the resources. Marketplace is similar to the marketplace that you get in Facebook or let's say or any other application from where you can just get the resources, right? And marketplace means other than Microsoft, all other third party providers can also sell their services. Yeah, you can also sell the services if you have any. So as you can see, we have some virtual machines by Red Hat. Then we have some virtual machine by Microsoft. So this is the virtual machine that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. Okay. So it's up to you, like which provider you want to use. So I will simply say Azure SQL DB. Okay. So I have got some options and I don't think that this is the one. So I will simply say SQL. Yeah. Just write SQL and then you will see this Azure SQL. Just click on it because I want to use Microsoft one. And then I think I will get three options. Azure SQL, Azure SQL VM and all. See, by the way, what are these three options? So this is a very good example. These are three different kind of resources that I can create. First of all, SQL virtual machine. So what it will do, it will simply create a virtual machine for me and it will install SQL, Azure SQL on it. Simple. Okay. That is why it is written best for migrations and applications require OS level access. What is OS level access? So bro, the thing is, whenever you if you have ever used MS SQL Server and you are the admin, obviously you have like the most granular level access, right? And now your organization is planning to migrate to Azure. So now it's your responsibility to get that access. And if you want that granular level access, like exact same access, 100% exact same access, this is the option for you. And that is why it is lift and shift ready, because everything will be exactly same. But we have another thing as well, that is called SQL managed instance. It is a good option if you are just looking for, let's say, 99% of the OS level access, or let's say 99% of the access that you have currently in your MS SQL Server. Not 100%, but 99%. And still best for most migrations to the cloud. It is the best one. Why? Because in this particular type of SQL, Azure SQL DB, you do not need to manage the infrastructure. And this is your IaaS, and this can be your interview question as well. And this is the PaaS. This is a platform as a service. You do not need to worry about the infrastructure. You do not need to worry about the OS upgrades. You do not need to worry about anything. You just need to worry about your platform, your Azure SQL DB. Okay. And this is the one that is currently in use right now, Azure SQL, like SQL database. So this is very popular if you just want to, let's say, use SQL DB for the future applications, or let's say future use cases, and you want to just start building something and you want to use SQL DB for fresh use cases, let's say fresh applications. This is the one. This is the one in which you do not need to apply any lift and shift, nothing. This is just for the fresh use cases. So we will simply click on create. Now, oh, want to try Azure SQL Database for free? Create a free serverless database with first 1000 week course, 32 GB of data. Apply offer. Okay, let's apply it. Okay, let's apply it. Because I'm using pay as you go account, so that is why it is just giving me some offer so that I can just save some money. By the way, thank you so much, Microsoft. Okay, so by the way, jokes apart. First of all, we need to just provide a database name. What is the database name? Obviously, we do not have any kind of database name right now. Okay, so you will say, bro, database name comes after the server. We should first have a database servers. You are right. And why it is already picking a server from your account? So basically, I already have one server that I have created before in my other videos. So I will simply say create new. Okay. So I will simply put as a server name and I will simply say Azure Fundamentals. Simple. And I will just keep the region as it is. And now this is important. Authentication method. I will simply say use both SQL and Microsoft Entra authentication, because it's up to me how I want to just connect to the SQL. Either I can just use my default account or I can just use SQL ID and password. And for that, I want to create SQL admin and password. That's it. Okay. And set Microsoft admin not selected. I can simply say set admin because my Entra account will be set as admin, and I should all obviously pick this. So this should be my admin. Simply say select. Wow, very good. So now login. I will simply say admin, or let's say Ansh. Yeah, Ansh. And password I can just keep it. Oh, I cannot keep it. Okay. So, huh, such a task, man. Okay. So let me just keep perfect. Very good. Then, oh man, very good. So now just click on OK. Now your server is ready. Now your server is ready. Now it is saying, hey, what is the database name? Now you should just create your database name. So I will simply say Azure Funda DB. Let's say, okay. And if it just asks you to just provide a unique name, so then you have to just pick the unique name. Okay. Then out of was the database until next month, blah blah blah. You do not need to worry about these things. And yeah, these are the things that I just discussed with you. Now you all know all the policies: LRS, ZRS, GRS, and GZRS. Now you all know, bro. Very good. Now click on next networking, and it is saying connectivity method. If you would simply keep it as no access, then you cannot access it, bro. You have to just keep it public endpoint so that you can use it. And you need to check this box as well. Allow Azure services and resources to access this server. Otherwise, you cannot access it. That is why it is a task, bro. Just follow the steps. Access, add current IP address as well. Yes, the current IP address of this machine will be able to go and just use it. Okay. And what other things I should just select? I think everything is fine. Okay. Then go to security. Then enable Microsoft Defender for SQL. So we do not need to worry about that because our data is not sensitive right now. Okay. Then this is also good. Then click on advanced additional settings. Use existing data. Collation is fine. Okay. What is collation? Collation is basically the set of rules that we apply on our database. We have like some different collations available. So then maintenance window, wow. Then tag. So basically tag is used to just categorize your resources, and we don't want to worry about that as well. Review plus create, and it is saying estimation cost. For my case, it is 0 because I have just got the free 32 GB storage. Nice. By the way, it costs around, I think, $5 a month. I think, yeah. And you can obviously delete it, bro. So simply click on create. It will just create the resource for you. So it will just take, I think, few seconds, and your DB will be ready. And the intent behind creating this resource, I will actually show you how you can just create tables within Azure SQL DB. Because I promised you in the beginning of the video that we will be just actually creating stuff. This is a practical video, bro. I do not believe much in theory. Theory is important, but just for concepts. But practical videos are important. Practical videos are important. Make sense? Okay. By the way, this part of the video, like from now, video is really, really interesting because you will be actually seeing stuff. And this is just the basics, bro. SQL DB is just the basic. The next thing, Cosmos DB. Killer, killer, killer. So it is just deploying the application. It takes, I think, few seconds. And once your server and tables are ready, you can simply log in. I will just show you. By the way, just a recommendation. If you face any errors while creating this thing, just rewatch this part instead of just saying, hey, my data is not showing, my this is not doing anything, and this is throwing error. Just rewatch this part because there are some boxes that we checked, and if you just miss anyone, you will not be able to access your DB. Okay, so that is why I showed you, and that is why I told you, like, it is really important. Okay, if you see any errors, just rewatch this part. Not a big deal. Okay, very good. As you can see, some green ticks are done. So this has created our server. and firewall is also ready, and connections are also ready. And this is, I think, now creating a database for us, which is Azure Fundamental DB. Let me just expand it or hover over this. Mhm. Oh, I see. I see. Okay, no worries. By the way, don't worry, it will not affect anything. But it has taken resource group as hmm, this one. Maybe I just clicked on the different resource group instead of my new resource group. But don't worry, it doesn't matter at all. Trust me. Because obviously in your scenario, you will be just having one resource group and it's done. So now it is deployed. Now I'm really excited to go to this resource. Simply click to go to resource, or you can simply go to home. Okay. And then you can just search your resource. Let's say go to home, go to search bar and simply search SQL DB, SQL databases. So these are two databases. By the way, this is the previous one. Okay. This is the new one that we created. This is the database, not the server. If you want to go to server, simply search SQL servers. These are the two servers. Click on this one that we have just created. Within this is your configuration page, or let's say home page. Okay. Within this, you will see the database. This is your database within this server, because obviously we can have multiple databases within server, right? Make sense? Fundamentals of SQL, bro. Simply click on it. Then it will show you your database. This is your database, Azure Funda DB. This is your database. So now the main thing is, if you want to access this database, how you can just access it? There are two options. You can either install an application called Azure Data Studio, Azure Data Studio, and you can just provide the credentials like link and all. But trust me, I personally like using query editor if I'm just showing some tutorials, because I like the UI, and plus you do not need to download anything, and everything is same when you download Azure Data Studio. So simply click on query editor, and this is basically the online version of Azure Data Studio. So why to download any stuff if you just trying to learn anything, right? So now it is saying how you want to log in. Do you want to use your SQL credentials, or you want to use your email ID? Because I just ticked this email ID as my admin as well, right? But I will just show you how you can just use SQL admin, like SQL credentials. I will simply provide the credentials here and click on OK. Okay, so as you can see, I have directly come here because my all the configurations were like exactly fine. But I have seen, like, in many scenarios where people see errors because sometimes they forget to change the configuration, where they do not where they do not just check the boxes for Azure it through public IP addresses. I will just show you that as well. So if you just want to see, let me just show you, because I know like some of you will be seeing errors. So if you just missed anything, okay, let me just click on close. So if you just missed anything, any property, let's say you want to click on the access this particular database through IP address, through public IP address, but you forgot to do that. So how you can just do this change? So you simply need to go to, let's say, networking, this one, or you can just simply find networking here as well in settings, and then security. Yeah, networking. Simply go to networking, and then public network access. You should just check this box, selected networks, and this should also be enabled. So this was all, and you can just explore more and more things. And if you just see the errors, the best part is Azure will give you some recommendations so that you can simply click on it, error will be resolved. Okay, so let's go inside this DB finally and click on this DB and just click on the query editor. And again, I need to just provide the password and then click OK. Okay, this is my query editor, online version of Azure Data Studio. So this is exactly same, bro. As you can see, the UI as well, similar to MS SQL Server. where you can see tables. We do not have anything. Let me just create one so that you can just understand it. So basically, let's say you want to create a table in your Azure SQL DB. Exactly same thing, bro. See, create table, and I will simply say sales. Let's say I want to just create a table called sales. Same way, I will just provide the DDL schema, and which will be, let's say, ID of int data type, then let's say name of customer, or let's say customer ID. Okay, then int, then sale amount, int, then let's say customer name, and then let's say I want, oops, I just provided comma here. So then customer name, then I will simply say varchar 20. Simple. Let's create this table. Simple. In order to just create this, simply click on run and see it has created the table. So just click on refresh. Now you will see this table here. See, it was so simple, and you can actually see all the columns. Exactly similar to your on-prem SQL. Do not need to afraid. Hey, Azure SQL is something different. No, it is not different. It is exactly same, bro. Then if I just want to insert some data, I can simply insert some data. Let's say insert into sales. Okay. And let's say I want to insert one, and then customer ID is 101. Then sale amount, let's say, is 100 or 1000. Customer name, it's let's say ABC. Okay. Similarly, I can just copy this record. Okay, let me just copy this as well. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I can simply change the values. By the way, I can just keep it same as well. Don't need to worry. Okay, let's say one customer places these 3 orders. So let me just click on run. Oops. What's the issue? Oh, oops. I forgot to type values. Okay, simply click on run. So this is fine. Let me just click on refresh. And now you will say, hey, Ansh Lamba, can you just query this data as well? Yes. Let me just click on new query just to open a blank query for you. Click on new query, and then I will simply say select asterisk from sales or db or dot sales, because we didn't create any schema. Click on run. See, this is your data. This is your structured data that you can see. ID, customer ID, sale amount, customer name. Sorted. Structured data, Azure SQL DB, done. This is your solution within Azure to just work with structured data. Sorted? Yes, it was sorted. It was easy, bro. It was easy. So I just want to click on cancel. Okay, click OK. And I just want to delete this first of all, because I know like servers are really expensive, specifically like structured data servers. So how you can just delete this server? Simply click on your server, and then just just find something ready to delete. Yeah, here. Just click on delete, and it will say, hey, type that server name. We are not your servant. We'll simply copy and paste. Click on delete. So now it will just delete the server. So once you learn something, learning is done, just delete the resource. Like obviously, if you're just using the free account, you do not need to worry, but it's a good practice. If you are not using that thing, just delete it. By the way, who is saying that? Who has like so many resource groups, so many resources, and the guy has not deleted anything? Okay, I know. It's fine. Okay. I want you to learn. That's it. I do not worry about myself. You guys should learn everything. Okay. So this was all about structured data. Now, Ansh Lamba, the most popular one is semi-structured data. Very good. Yeah. So what service that we have to work with semi-structured data? If we want to just create databases, data tables on top of semi-structured data, we have a cool service. It's called, first of all, let me just go to my resource group. Okay. And my resource group is Azure Fundamentals. Yeah. Yeah, this one. Okay. So now as you can see, nothing is there because we deleted it. Click on create. Okay. Now I will create something called as Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB is your one-stop solution to work with semi-structured data. Semi-structured data. And it has so many parts. Yes, it has so many APIs. I will just show you. It has so many APIs because Semi-structured data is also referred to as NoSQL data. NoSQL means NoSQL means not only SQL. It is also referred to as uh, non-relational data. So I would say Cosmos DB is built to work with non-relational data, and Azure SQL DB is built to work with relational data. And we know when we say relational data, we mean to say that structured data. When we say non-relational data, we mean to say semi-structured data. But that's not the reality in today's scenario. The reason is we have enabled some capabilities due to which we can just apply relational mappings. We can just enable relational data on top of semi-structured data as well. That is a different story. That is a concept called lakehouse. That is a different story. But we are just trying to understand the solutions that we have, like how we can actually store the data, bro. We just need to first of all figure out how to store the data. Make sense? And Cosmos DB is like emerging, like just ask any software engineer like where he stores the data. If he is working with Azure, the answer would be Cosmos DB. And obviously Cosmos DB is just like being more and more popular with the time, because it has enabled data engineering capabilities as well within Cosmos DB. It's called analytical workspace, or let's say analytical containers. It is crazy, bro. It is crazy. So Cosmos DB is very much in demand. So just try to understand the concept. So first of all, I will simply go to search bar and I will simply say Cosmos, then just search. Then yeah, then you will simply see a lot of things. So just click on any one. Let's say Azure Cosmos DB. Okay, just click on it. Then click on create. Okay. So we have here two things. Recommended API. These are the most popular one. Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL, and then we have Azure Cosmos DB for MongoDB. What is the difference? What is the difference? What is the difference? By the way, before telling the difference, what are others? Others are Azure Cosmos DB for table, Azure Cosmos DB for Gremlin API, Azure Cosmos DB for Apache Cassandra, and Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL. Let's talk about these in detail. Let's talk about it. It is very important. First of all, recommended APIs, because these are popular ones. Okay. First of all, let's talk about Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. It says Azure Cosmos DB's core or native API for working with documents. Working with documents. Supports fast, flexible, blah, blah, blah. That is a different story. It means when we create Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL, by the way, it is just renamed. Before it was referred to as uh, Azure Core SQL. Yeah, it was referred to as Azure Core SQL, and now it is like Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. So basically, in this particular instance, we can work with key value pairs. That means, let me just create a diagram. So what will happen in this? Let's say we have one key which is called ID, and we will be having a value, let's say 1, or let's say 0, 1. Okay, let's say, and yeah, then we will be having, let's say, name, and then we will be having a value for it, let's say ABC. Simple. And this is the end of our object. And let me just insert this. Yeah, this is our, let's say, first entity that is coming, in which we have two columns: key and value, key and value, key and value. Simple. And in key, obviously we can just store anything, because key is just a key, bro. Key is just a key column name. In value, we can have anything. We can have string, we can have int, we can have a JSON document as well. And that is why we have something called as Azure Cosmos DB for MongoDB. What does it mean? It says fully managed database service for apps written for MongoDB. Recommended if you have existing MongoDB, blah, blah, blah. Let me just explain you what's that. So this is a special kind of this instance. Really? Yeah. This is a special kind or let's say special type, let's say special type of Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. What does it mean? So it says when you have data like this, when you have data like this, when you have, let's say, ID or not ID, let's make it more relatable. Let's say customer, customer one, and the details of this customer is actually stored in JSON, in which we have ID, okay, and value is, let's say, 01. Then we have, let's say, name, and name is ABC. See, this is the value. Then the second key is customer 2, and then we have same thing, ID 02, and then name, let's say XYZ. So when we have data like this, so this is the one entity, and when we have data like this, the key is just the key, and the value is stored in the form of JSON. That becomes Azure Cosmos DB for MongoDB. Make sense? Okay. Now, what are the other options? And one important thing, when we just create Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL, we can actually query the data which is stored in semi-structured format, or let's say in the form of key value pairs, and we can actually use SQL queries. Can you imagine? You can just simply say, hey, select asterisk from, let's say, table. Simple. Data is actually stored in the form of key value pairs in the form of JSON, and you can actually query this data using SQL. That is the best thing about this particular API, that is Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. And it is also written that it is fast, flexible development with familiar SQL query language. Okay. Then let's explore some more features. So this is pretty much similar to Azure Cosmos DB for SQL API, or let's say for NoSQL API. This is similar to that one, but you cannot query the data using your SQL APIs. And don't worry, I will just show you Azure Cosmos DB for table in detail, because this is similar to, or let's say this is just, you can say, fully managed table service for Azure table storage. I will just come on that one. Don't worry, this is the next thing. Okay, then we have something called as Azure Cosmos DB for Apache Gremlin. Basically, when we just work with graph databases can be your database which is linked in the form of nodes. So let's say this is node number 1, this is linked to this node is linked to this node is linked to this one, let's say this is also linked to this one. So when we have connections, when we have relations within the nodes, and when we just want to work with nodes, and you can say some kind of relations, there can be relations, right? Let's say this is a child of this one, this is a child of this one, this is this one. So there are some relations. Then we work with graph databases, and Gremlin API is the most popular one to deal with graph databases. Sorted. Then we have something called as Azure Cosmos DB for Apache Cassandra. Cassandra is very popular term. So this is nothing but very similar to the previous versions, or let's say previous APIs. So what will happen within this API? So when you have hierarchy of columns within your data, hierarchy of columns. So let's say your one column is ID. Okay. And then second column is customers. But within customers, you have further more two columns, which is called, let's say, first name and last name. So now then you have value, let's say this ID1, okay, and then you have, let's say, AA and then XY. So when you have like family of columns, then we use Apache Cassandra API with Azure Cosmos DB. These are basically the managed layers that are built on top of your open source solutions. So before Azure Cosmos DB, we were using, let's say, only Apache Cassandra API. That's it. But now we have the managed layer. And obviously, when we are just working with these APIs, we can query the data as a data engineer. So basically, we do not manage Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB is just like the Azure SQL DB for us. It is just a source for us. Being a data engineer, we need to use those databases as a source. So we use a term called as, let me just explain that as well. HTAP, Hybrid Transactional Analytical Processing. So we use Cosmos DB as our source. Okay, we process it and we just load this data to our data warehouse. Simple. So all these like Cosmos DB for NoSQL for blah blah blah, these are actually populated by your DBAs or let's say by software developers. They use REST APIs to feed data to these databases which are in the form of NoSQL or non-relational SQL databases. Once data is there in Cosmos DB, we just use it as a source. And in Fabric, we have a concept called database mirroring, in which we do not even need to take care of anything. It will be automatically mirrored in our data warehouse automatically. And then we can just simply query our data warehouse. Got it? But you should know these things. You should know these things because that revolves around data, right? So anything if anything is revolving around data, you should know. You should know about that. Simple. Simple. So this was all about your Cosmos DB. By the way, we cannot create an account for Cosmos DB. Why? Because the thing is we have some quota limits, and whenever you will be just creating, it will just show you an error that you do not have permission to create an Cosmos DB account within your location. Earlier it was just showing us some, like when I was just learning Cosmos DB, I was able to create Cosmos DB databases, but I think then they just imposed some quota limits because Cosmos DB is expensive. Trust me, it is expensive. So that's why they are just imposing some of the, you can say, restrictions. Maybe when you will be watching this, your account will be able to just create that resource. But do not worry. That doesn't mean that I will not show you how to deal with non-relational data. No, I will show you how, because we have a very popular service, the most popular service in Azure that handles your unstructured data plus semi-structured data as well. Yes, it handles both. And I will just show non-relational data in that particular resource. So don't worry, you will learn everything. Okay, so let me show you what's that. So now I am again in my resource group. So now it's time to just talk about the unstructured data and the solutions that we have available within Azure to deal with unstructured data. And this particular resource is the most popular resource. And let me just give you a hint. Your Azure Data Lake is also the part of this resource. So when we just say that we want to just deal with unstructured data that doesn't have any structure, so we have basically some categories for unstructured data in order to just unstructured data. So first form of storing this data, we can just store this data in the form of blocks. Okay, we can store this data in the form of, let's say, blobs. We can store the data in the form of files that we usually do when we just work with our personal computers. So blocks, when we just save the data in the hard drive, that gets saved in the form of blocks. And for Azure, we have something called as disks, in which you can just store your data in the disk. Like it is similar to the disk that you have on your PC. That is that simple. Then we have blobs. This is the center of the discussion right now in the industry. Blob storage. Blob storage is nothing but the basis of your Azure data lake or any data lake. When we store your data in the form of blobs, you are actually setting the groundwork for data lake, because data lake is built on top of blob storage. Yes, and we have data lake in Azure, we have blob storage as well. I will just show you both. And then we have files. We can just store the data in the form of files, and you can just share the files like you normally do when you have like local disk C, local disk D. Within that you have folder files similar to that one. So without wasting any time, let's actually see the resource, and the resource is called Azure Storage Account. Yes, just search it. So simply pick the Microsoft one. Okay, just click on it and then click on create. Then you will see again the configuration page. So storage account name should be unique. So I will simply pick, let's say, Azure Funda Storage. Okay, you can simply pick. Oh, it is already taken. Wow. Let me just put Ansh after that. Yeah, very good. So now if you can see redundancy options, now you are having the redundancy options, and obviously we know the cheapest one is LRS, so we will simply pick LRS. Simple. Then click on next, and this is the main part that I would just show you. So the main part is, if you create this storage account, by default it will create Azure Blob Storage for you. But in order to create Azure Data Lake, you need to check this box. Enable hierarchical namespace. Let me just check this and let me just tell you what it will do. So let me just tell you the structure first of all. So the structure looks like this. First of all, you will be having container. Okay, you will be having container. Then you will be having something called as blobs. That's it. You cannot go beyond that. You cannot hierarchically create your folders. But when we check this box, we can actually create folders. And let me just tell you, you can just create as many folders as you want. Like you can just create another folder, then another folder, then another folder. So when you just enable hierarchical namespace, you are actually creating an Azure Data Lake. You are actually creating a Azure Data Lake. Okay, very good. Then just click on next. Oh, by the way, this is very important. Let's talk about this as well. Access tier. What is this? And by default, you will be just seeing hot. We have three kinds of access tier: hot, cool, cold. What are these things? So basically, when you just store your data within, let's say, data lake. Okay, I will just tell you what is that and I will just show you, don't worry. For now, just imagine like you're just storing your data somewhere. If you are accessing that data, you are just performing input output operations on that particular folder and you're just doing it frequently, then you should always pick hot. Okay, because it provides you the cheapest option when you want frequent reads. Okay, but if you want to just store the data and you will be applying reads very, let's say, once in a while, and you will not be performing reads frequently, then you should consider cool. Why? Because in cool, the storage cost will be lower than hot. And as you can see, optimized for infrequently accessed data and just for the backup scenarios. Like let's say you want to just read the data once in a quarter. That's it. But now the cheapest option in terms of storage, when you know that you will not be touching your data for, let's say, for the whole year, let's say, so then this is the tier that you need to pick, optimized for rarely accessed data and backup scenarios. Cold. So it is also called as archived data or archived tier, in which you just need to put your data and you will not be reading the data. Okay, by the way, just be very cautious while picking this one, because when you just say cold, it will take, I think, few hours or let's say few days to just make your data and convert it into hot, and then only you will be able to read the data. So if you know that you can just have the, let's say, emergency to read the data immediately, you cannot use cold because it takes some time to warm up your data. Only then you will be able to use it. Okay, so just keep this thing in your mind, and you should just pick this one only and only if you know that you will not be using the data. And if you want to use the data, you are still fine if you can wait for a week. So these can be your, let's say, points to check before picking this one. Okay, then this is Azure Files. Enable large file shares. So this is automatically enabled on our Azure storage account, and this is the one that I was talking about for Azure file shares. Then next, networking is fine because we want enable public access from all the networks. if obviously you are just dealing with data that you want to access from anywhere. And if it is like very sensitive data, then obviously pick disable public access and use private access. Then you will be creating a private endpoint. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Then next, data protection is fine. Okay, it is just saying enable soft deletes for blobs, days to retain deleted blobs, 7 days. So these are just like your some precautions. Then it is saying enable support for customer managed. It is saying blob and files only. Why? Because these are the two things that we use a lot and we do not use tables and queues much. I will show you tables because I promised that I will just show you the non-relational database, and queues, we rarely use queues. By the way, what are these four things? You will get to know. Just be with me and click on review plus create. Okay, and it should hardly take, I think, 10 seconds to create it. Hardly. So just click on create. This is the fastest resource that you can create in Azure. Storage account, data lake. Okay, makes sense. So now I will just show you all the four services that I was talking about. And let's refresh it. Okay, so it is deployed. I told you it hardly takes 10 seconds. So simply click on go to resource. Okay. Then this is your data lake. This is your data lake. Don't worry, I will just tell you how you can just use this service. So simply scroll it down and click on data storage. Then you will see that you get four services when you create your storage account. The first one is containers. Containers means your data lake. This service is your data lake. Yes. Okay, and if you are not seeing here containers, if you are seeing here blobs, that means you have not checked that box hierarchical namespace. So that just check that box, only then you will be able to see this container. Okay, then we have something called as file shares that we just talked about. That like, why do we need file shares? Let's talk about it. So let's say you or let's say your organization is actually using 10 to 15 virtual machines. Okay, and there will be a manager, or let's say there will be so many people who will be pushing the files or who will be uploading the files to a central repository. Okay, and you want to access that file the same way you access it from local disk C, local disk D from your local computer. If you want to just enable a kind of local disk which can be accessed through any one of the team member. So this is the area called file shares, and you can also connect file shares to your on-prem computer, and you will be seeing something called as local disk file shares, and you can actually see all the content that you'll be uploading in this particular container, in this particular file shares. So let's say your manager is uploading data here. You will be able to see the data in your personal computer by connecting it with your on-prem. So this is a kind of central repository for files. And you can obviously upload any data because this is the solution for unstructured and semi-structured data. So you can just upload CSV files, JSON files. You can upload images, videos, everything. It can be used. PDFs, everything. Make sense? Very good. Now, what is this queues? Queues is basically the messaging services in Azure. Don't worry, it will not allow you to just send the messages. So basically, when we just deal with the real-time data, let's say real-time data can be, the source for real-time data can be, let's say IoT data, or let's say sensors data, okay, which can be sending data continuously to a source. So this acts as a source for this data. It's called queues. It's called queues. So it will just hold these messages because the data will be coming in the form of packets, in the form of messages, and it will be stored in the queues storage, and it will be stored obviously with the order. So it works on FIFO, first in, first out, and then that data will be stored like this in the form of packets, in the form of messages. And obviously we can just use this as a source to just process it, and let's say using any kind of real-time data analysis. Okay, we personally use Azure Event Hub to just store the messages, to store the continuous data. So that is why we do not use queues much, but yeah, we get the solution along with the storage account. Then the last one, tables. Tables is your solution to work with semi-structured data. When you want to insert data in the form of key value pairs, the same thing that we discussed in Cosmos DB, okay? This is the same thing. I will just show you that as well. How you can just create this table using semi-structured data. Okay, so let me just show you. So first of all, let's create containers. Let's start with data lake, because I want to just show you can just upload anything. Okay, so when you just click on it, you actually get something called as containers, because when we just create a Azure Data Lake, or let's say anything, we can create containers. Okay, simply click on plus container and then simply name it as something called as, let's say, raw data. Okay, and obviously anonymous level, it's private. It should not be accessed by anyone. Yep, because this is secured by Azure. Not everyone can use the data using SQL and or using endpoints. No. So simply click on create, and then you will see your container is ready. Then just click on this. You will see something called as add directory. In case of blob storage, you will maybe seeing add directory as well, but you cannot create hierarchical folders. So when you click on add directory, you can simply create, let's say, raw folder. Click on save, then click on this folder, and then again you will be getting this option. But in case of blob storage, you cannot create hierarchical folders. So now I can simply upload anything. When you click on upload, it will ask you to upload anything from your computer. You can just upload anything. Let's say let me just upload one CSV file that I have in my computer. You can just upload any CSV file. So I have just uploaded one file. It's called Netflix titles.csv, and if you also want to access this particular file, I will just upload this file in my GitHub repository, and I can just also show you how I can just because I think it is already uploaded in my GitHub repository. Let me just show you how you can just also grab the file for this particular CSV. So let me just click on upload. So the moment I click on upload, now it is uploaded. See, CSV is a text-based file format. So it is basically allowing us to upload our data in the form of files. We do not need to worry about any schema. We do not need to worry about any table. We do not need to worry about anything. I just uploaded the CSV file, bro. The text file like this. Now I can just use this file. I can just use this file now. Got it? Got it. Very good. So that is the power of data lake. You can actually work with semi-structured data. You can say structured data. Obviously, if you're using Delta Lake, you can just work with unstructured data. You can just import images, everything, bro, everything. So this was just an example of your containers. Let's go back to our all the services. Click on this home, or let's say containers. Okay, then let's explore this one, tables. Because tables is really important, and we didn't explore relational data much, so it's time to just non-relational data much, so it's time to actually look at non-relational data. Just click on this tables and just click on plus table and just create a table name, let's say called sales data, or let's say sales. Click on OK. So now your table is created. See, it was so quick. So it's similar to your SQL database. Yeah, you have created SQL table, but not really SQL table, NoSQL table, or let's say non-relational database. Okay, so this is your table. Makes sense. If you want to click on it, you will not be able to do anything. See, I cannot open it because using this interface, you cannot open it. So if you want to access this sales table, you actually need to go to storage browser. This one, just click on it. Just remember, do not ask, hey, I cannot access this. I cannot click on this. Just click on storage browser. Then from here you can actually access these tables, otherwise you cannot. Now click on these tables. Now you can do a lot of stuff. You can actually click on this. Just click on this. Perfect. This is your table. What kind of table is this, bro? So now it's time to talk about non-relational data. So basically, when we work with non-relational data, we can actually scale our systems, and we can actually scale our data to, let's say, infinite level. So that is why we have a first concept. It is called partition key. What is this partition key? You would have heard people saying that we work with distributed computing environment. where we just partition our data, where we just distribute our data. This is the same thing. So let's say you are just creating a table, and that table is really, really big. That table is actually carrying the big data. So what you will do, you will create a partition key. Partition key is nothing but just a column name, just an attribute name that you want to assign. So every partition key, let's say you have just picked one column name, any column name, okay, any column name. So when you will be just defining, hey, just make the partition on that particular column. So let's say you have a column. Let me just give you a real life example. Okay, let's say you have here ID. Okay, here you have ID, and here you have something called as category. Okay, category. And then here you have, let's say, amount, blah blah, and then let's say here subcategory. Okay, now let's say 1, 2, and let's say 2. Yeah, then category can be let's say food. Okay, and this is again clothes, and this is, let's say, merchandise, not merchandise, shoes. Okay, perfect. And just fill something here. Okay, so now what will happen if I pick category as a partition key? So it will just create partition based on each value of category. So my partition key should be unique among all the partitions. So one partition of data will be just for food, the other partition of the data will be just on clothes, the next partition will be just based on shoes. That's how it will just create the partition. It will just distribute the data among different machines. Okay, that is fine. Now what is this row key? This is really interesting. So row key actually acts as a primary key in each partition. That means your, let's say my row key is ID column. So my one partition will be based on this. Yes. My second partition will be this. My third partition will be this. Okay. So this should act as a primary key in each partition, not in the whole table. Because you can say, hey, Ansh Lamba, I can see 2 values for 2. Yeah, I know that. But this is a different partition. This is a different partition. Partition is nothing but they are just making small chunks between your data. So row ID is basically the primary key of your each partition. Okay, Ansh Lamba, that is fine. So what will be the primary key of the whole table? Because we should have a primary key, right? Yes, I know. So the whole primary key, or let's say the primary key of the whole table, will be the combination of partition key and row key. Both. This is your primary key. And it is also called as composite key if you know the fundamentals of SQL. So it is also called as composite key or composite primary key. So now when we just add both the things, they should act as a primary key. Are they acting as a primary key? Yes. Because the combination of both is unique, combination of both is unique, combination of both is unique. This is the primary key of whole table, and row key is the primary key of each partition. Make sense? Sorted? Very good. Now what is this timestamp? So basically whenever we just insert any entity, it creates the third column automatically, which is called as timestamp. Simple. Simple. And it will be managed by Azure. We will not be managing it. Timestamp is just like when we are just inserting the data, that's it. And these 2 columns are necessary. These 2 attributes are necessary if you want to just insert data. And then you can just add anything. Like you can just add more columns because this is semi-structured data. We do not have any fixed schema. We can just do anything. Let's add entity. Then you will just understand everything. Just click on add entity. Okay. Then it is saying partition key and row key because we have to give value for this. Then only it will be able to manage the table. Okay. So let's say partition key will be partition key, let's say ID1. Let's keep the example same. Okay, but not partition key 1 because our partition key was category. So let's say food. Okay, and let's say, let me just click on pencil. and value, okay, food, and row key will be 1. Okay, now these two columns are fixed. Makes sense? These two columns are fixed. Now let's add property. Property means we can add more columns, we can add more attributes. Simply add one, and let's say I want to name it as amount. Okay, and the data type I want is int, and amount is 10. Then I want to add one more column, which is called subcategory. Okay, and subcategory will be, let's say, food, let's say. Okay, that's it. In first entity we just have 4 records, that's it. One is partition key, second is row key. Oh, we cannot keep food, let's keep it, let's say, noodles. Okay, then simply click on insert. That means we are just applying insert into command. Click on insert. So it is adding one entity. See, one entity is this one. This is my first entity, and as you can see, I didn't provide any timestamp. Azure automatically provided the timestamp for me, and these are the columns. Perfect. And we also know that this is a primary key combination of both, and this is the primary key of each partition. So that means we will be having partition for this one, food. Let's insert one more entity. Let's insert. Let me just show you the power of NoSQL. Add entity. Okay, it is saying what is the partition key value. I will simply say food. Let's say we have another entity for food, right? And row key will be second. Okay, amount is 15, and subcat. Now let's do one thing. Now let's say for this entity I do not have this value, this subcat. I do not have this value. I do not have this value. Let me just click on insert. It will still insert this data. See, without any problem. So you will say, hey, Ansh Lamba, we can also insert null data in SQL. So there's nothing special in NoSQL. Okay, let me show you what is special. Okay, let's just click on add entity. Okay, let me just say this time again food. Okay, and row number is 3, and then amount will be, let's say, 20, and this time I do not have this column. Let me just delete this. Are you just imagining like what I'm doing in this particular entity? I'm removing the column. I'm changing the schema of the table. I'm saying that I do not have the column itself. Let me just click on insert and let's see what happens. So the thing is, it will insert the data. Why? Because bro, see, nothing here. But this time I don't even have the column as well. No, I don't have. So what actually happened, this is called NoSQL data. Let's say not only SQL. This is NoSQL data. So I do not need to worry about, let's say, any kind of schema. I can have any schema. Ansh Lamba. Okay, we can just remove the columns. What if we have a new column? Bro, it's fine. See, let me just provide partition key, a new partition key this time. So I can simply say clothes. Okay, clothes, and row key, let's keep it 1 because the combination of both will be the primary key. So that makes sense. Amount, let's say 20, let's say 10. And let me just delete this and add a new property. Let's say size, because obviously for clothes we can have size, right? We can have size. We can have size. I will simply say medium. Simple. Click on insert. It will simply insert the data for me, bro. See, size is M. Size is M. And I don't have any subcategory for this one. It will be empty. I have subcategory for this one. It will just show noodles. So this is the power of NoSQL. You do not need to worry about anything. You do not need to worry about anything. You just need to follow the rules, and the rules are you need to keep this row key unique in each partition. That means in the food partition, you cannot have duplicate keys. So if I will just try to create one partition, one entity here with the duplicate key, it will just throw the error. Let me just show you. So let's say I want to create food and then 1. Okay. And then let's say I am just removing the size. So this time it has automatically populated these things. So let's create, just delete the size, or let's keep it like this, 10, and then something like this. Just do it. Just click on insert. This will fail. Why? Because it says, bro, what you are doing, we already have the record for that particular thing. So if you want to insert the same row key, your partition should be different. Or if you want to insert the same, or let's say different row key, then obviously you can just keep any partition key. So the rule is your partition key plus row key should be unique throughout the table, and your row key should be unique in each partition. That is the rule. That's it. Other than that, just save any data, bro, any data. Just click on string. You can see there are so many options here: string, boolean, datetime, double, GUID, int, 64, binary, everything. But we do not have only one sorry, only one option, that is called object. That is for JSON, because that is only available for MongoDB. For that, we need to use Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB with MongoDB API, or Cosmos DB with NoSQL DB. Okay, but obviously that is not possible right now, but I just wanted to show you. Think everything is same, bro. Everything is same. We just have the ability to store the data in the form of object as well. And there as well, we have something called as partition key. So you should feel familiar with that. Okay, but there we do not have row key. We just have partition key. That's it. That's it. But can you feel like fundamentals are same? Okay. Okay. Makes sense. So I hope this would help you. And let me just cancel it because this row was corrupted. And as you can see, like you can actually do a lot of stuff. So if you want to just do a filter, add a filter, and then you can simply say column equals to, let's say, amount. I want to just find the amount which is equal to 10. Let me just click on apply. So it will just show all the records which is equal to 10. So actually, if you want to query your data and if you just want to use a filter, you can just do this, add filter. But the advantage with Cosmos DB API, you can actually use select statement like exact SQL query. That is why that is a scalable solution. But that doesn't mean that we cannot use this. Obviously, right? Makes sense? So this is your non-relational data. I hope now you know all these storage solutions within Azure. And now it's time to quickly cover the Azure data solutions. Data solutions, yes. Data/data processing solutions. What do we use? Let's say we have the data. Okay. What do we do after that? Let me just tell you what are the data solutions we have within Azure, and let me just walk you through like some basic stuff. Okay, let me just show you and let me just tell you the best resources to grab the information for all those services. Let me just show you. So now when we talk about the data services available within Azure, and being a data engineer, when we talk about Azure data services, I think this is the most popular one, and this comes the first. Why? Because see, being a data engineer, our main motive is to migrate the data from one place to another. Yes, we apply some transformations. Yes, we do a lot of stuff other than migration, but the major task is just the data migration. If you closely observe, we migrate the data from one place to another. Make sense? So Azure Data Factory is that particular tool which is used to migrate your data from one place to another. Yes, and the best part of this data migration tool, or let's say data ETL tool, is this is low no code. That means you actually do not need to write code. It will automatically take care of all the codes behind the scenes, and you just need to use low no code. You just need to drag and drop things, and you will be actually able to build ETL pipelines to migrate data from one place to another. Yes, it is that simple. Obviously, it is not that much simple, but yeah, Azure Data Factory is very easy to start, and obviously it requires practice, experience to master it. Yes. So let me just show you. Let me just show you. So if you want to, first of all, let's go to our resource group. Okay, let's go to our resource group. So in order to create this resource, first of all, we will simply go to plus create, and let's try to search data factory. And I know that demand for data factory is like growing rapidly, and It is such a revolutionary tool, and I know lots of companies are like, most of the companies are like running after Azure Data Factory developers, and we know the reason. And now you will also know the reason why. Because I'm creating this resource just for you, and I will just show you how you can also migrate the data from one place to another. Yes, I'm just doing it just for you, just for you, just for you. So you can actually feel, okay, we can build the ETL pipeline so easily, right? So let's do that, and I will just build a base for you because I have a surprise for you, and I will just reveal it in just few minutes. And I will basically provide you the best resource to learn Azure Data Factory, and you will gain all the knowledge that you need, and the knowledge you need to crack the interviews, not just like basic knowledge. So the knowledge that you'll be gaining with this resource, it will actually help you to crack the interviews. Trust me, trust me, this resource is really, really valuable. I will just show you once I will just show you how to just use the Azure Data Factory, and I will just give you a quick overview. Okay, so let's quickly create one Azure Data Factory. I'll simply say ADF Ansh. Obviously, I cannot use underscore hyphen. Oh, this is fine. Okay, so let's click on review plus create directly. Okay, then simply click on create. So it will just create the Azure Data Factory for us. Okay, so now let's wait for the deployment. It should take, I think, hardly, yeah, it is done. Simply click on go to resource and click on refresh. Hey, where is our Azure Data Factory? Yeah, simply click on this, and then this is your overview. So basically, in order to use Azure Data Factory, you just need to click on Launch Studio, and then you will be able to land on the main page. Okay, so this will just open up your data factory. So this is your data factory. This is your data factory. This is your data factory. So let me just give you a quick overview. Basically, as I just mentioned, that Azure Data Factory is an ETL tool which uses low no code. Okay, so first of all, we have something called as author tab, in which we will be doing all of the stuff, like if you want to build ETL pipelines or everything. Okay, then we have something called as monitor. So basically, this is used to monitor your pipeline. Let's say you are just building pipelines and you want to monitor them, like either they are failing, so it's a good place to monitor those pipelines. And let me just click on it just to show you. So it looks like this. So we have pipeline runs, we have trigger runs, we have change data capture, integration runtimes, data flow debug. I know if this is your first time, you'll be feeling like, hey, what are these things? Hold on, bro, hold on. Then manage tab. As the name suggests, we can just manage all the things within Azure Data Factory. The main thing is link service. Now let's start with this one. What is link service in Azure Data Factory? So basically, as you know that if this is your Azure Data Factory resource, okay, and this is some source, this is your source, and this is your destination. Okay, so now if you want to move this data from source to sink, how you can just move this data? How? Obviously, you would need one connection to connect to the source and to connect to this destination, right? That is called link service. In Azure Data Factory, we call connection as link service. That's it. Just a fancy name. Just a fancy name. Okay. So don't worry, I'll just show you how to create link service, because I will just show you how to migrate the data. Just a demo for you. Then we have something called as integration runtimes. Then we have Microsoft Purview, Git configuration if you just want to set up GitHub, not like just GitHub, Azure DevOps as well. So it's up to you what Git tool, which Git tool you want to use. So Azure DevOps, by the way, is really popular one whenever you use Azure services. Okay, then you have ARM templates. What is ARM template? Basically, ARM template is basically the code that is written behind your pipelines. So update your Azure Data Factory environment by importing an ARM template. So you can simply import the ARM template. You can also export the ARM template. It's up to you. So it is the template that is also used to deploy your pipelines to different environments. This is called ARM template. Okay, so you can simply say export. So it will simply export your template, this one that you have, and this is obviously nothing. But once you have, you can obviously export. Okay. Then triggers. We do not have any triggers. Triggers are basically used to trigger the pipeline. Like once you create the pipeline, obviously you have two options, either manually running that pipeline or just schedule it. So we have something called as triggers, which will automatically trigger the pipeline. Okay. Then global parameters. Then we have data flow libraries, and these are some common stuff for credentials, customer managed key. By the way, we have workflow orchestration, Apache Airflow. I am seeing like Microsoft is inclined towards Apache Airflow. Suddenly, I don't know why. And they are also including Apache Airflow in Microsoft Fabric as well. So, bro, something is. Let me just click on it. Apache Airflow is now accessible through Microsoft Fabric. See, I just told you. They have created one resource in Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric offers a wide range of Apache Airflow capabilities via Apache Airflow Job. Okay, we recommend migrating to Apache Airflow Job for Apache Airflow needs, as they provide broader set of features. Oh, it makes sense. So basically, they are just promoting to just migrate from your native Azure, not Azure, like Apache Airflow jobs, and just migrate those jobs to Fabric. So we can also click on plus new and Airflow setup. I think this is a kind of management layer, or like say managed layer they have applied on top of Apache Airflow. So you do not need to set up Kubernetes and all, and it will be just taking care of all the things. So I haven't explored this yet, so can't comment on it because they are just focusing on Apache Airflow a lot. Okay, then we have Learning Center. This is something that you can explore obviously when you just want to see the tutorials, videos, template gallery and all. Okay, so let's quickly go to Author tab. And this is the Author tab. This is your canvas that you will be using to create all the things in Azure Data Factory. Okay. Then the major area is this one, pipelines. Because with the help of this, you create your pipelines. Then you have chain data capture. Then you have data sets. Then you have data flows. Then you have Power Query. These are some of the features that are used to process your data, transform your data. They are like so much of stuff. Azure Data Factories, bro, like it's very much in deep if you want to just learn it. Okay. So click on pipelines, click on these three dots, new pipeline. So now I will just show you a demo using this Azure Data Factory. Okay, just be with me. Obviously, if this is your first time using Azure Data Factory, you cannot understand all the things, but you will be able to build the pipeline. I will just build a simple pipeline, and what I will do with this pipeline, I will simply go to my resource group. Okay, what I will do, as you know that in this storage account, I have one file that I uploaded, right? Just go to containers. Then within this, we have raw data. Then we have raw folder. And we have this file. Okay. What I will do, by the way, this file is available on my GitHub repository. And you can just use any CSV file, bro. Any CSV file. Just download any sample CSV file. It is not like restricted to this only. No, this is just a demo, bro. So just go to raw data and just go to container. So what I will do, I will create another container and I will simply say destination. So what my task is, I want to move data, or let's say copy data from raw data to destination. Make sense? Simple pipeline, basic movement, but you will be building pipeline for it. You will not be manually doing this thing. So let me show you how you can just achieve this. Okay. So first of all, we have an activity called copy activity or copy data. Simply drag it, select it and drag it here. So this is the activity that is the most popular activity in Azure Data Factory, and with the help of which you can actually build data migration pipelines. Okay, very good. Then it is asking us to provide the source. By the way, this is the general area. To rename it, we can rename, let's say, copy my data, simple. Then source. It is asking us to provide the source dataset. By the way, what is dataset? What is dataset? Before dataset, we need to know one more thing, which is link service, which is connection. You know the concept. Now it's time to implement it. Simply click on plus new. I know that it is asking you to create dataset, but I will just show you something else. Click on plus new and it will just say, hey, where is your data residing? Obviously Data Lake Gen 2. So you need to simply pick Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Do not pick blob storage. Do not pick this blob storage. Okay. Simply pick this one, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Click on this, then continue. And it is saying, hey, in which format you have your data? Obviously CSV. Click continue. Perfect. Now this is the area. Now it is saying, hey, just name your dataset. And what is the link service? We do not have any link service because we have not created any kind of connection. Obviously, makes sense. So dataset means your data within the connection. So let's say, first of all, you will create the connection. Click on this, click on plus new. So now it is asking us to create the connection with our data lake, because obviously, just tell you one thing, this is your data factory. It is trying to pull the data from the data lake. There should be a connection, bro. There should be a connection. So that connection is called as link service. Let's create a connection with our data lake. So I will simply call it as ls and data lake. ls stands for link service. Then it is asking us to pick the storage account, because obviously you can have so many storage accounts. In my case, we have like storage, so I have so many storage accounts. In your case, it will be only one, so it's fine. So I'll simply say, what was the storage account name, bro? What was the storage account name? Azure Fundamental Storage. Okay, this one. Okay, perfect. And we can also test the connection. Simply click on test connection. Okay, connection is successful. Simply click on create. Perfect. So now it is saying, okay, link service is done. Now it is asking us to provide the dataset name and the path, file path. So, okay, connection is made with the link service, with the data lake. But what is the dataset? Dataset means your real data, because obviously within that particular link service, within that particular data lake, there can be so many data files, right? So you need to specify which file. So first of all, I will simply rename it. I will simply say DS. DS stands for dataset. Dataset, let's say source. Okay. Now click on this browse button and you need to just select the file. The file is here within raw folder. Click on Netflix CSV titles. Click on OK. Done. Very good. Then you simply need to click on OK. So this has set up your connection with source. Now you have source ready. Then click on sync. What is sync? Sync is the fancy name for destination. So this is nothing but just destination. So now it is also saying, hey, what is the destination? So now we know in our particular case, we are copying the data within the same data lake. So that means we do not need to create a new connection, because we are just using the same data lake. But our destination container is different, right? The location is different. That means we need to create a data set only. So simply click on plus new. And again, where you want to store your data, data lake, click continue. Then in which format you want to save your data? I want to save it in the same format, CSV. Click on continue. Then it is saying what will be the name. I will name it as DS sync. Okay. Link service, I can use the existing one because my data lake is same. Makes sense? Very good. Now it is saying where you want to store your data. Simply click on browse. Click on raw data. No, because this is your source. You need to save your data in destination. Click on this. And obviously you do not have any folder. Click on OK. And if you just want to save a file directly in the container, leave it as it is. If you want to create a folder, simply add the directory name as, let's say, sync data. And if you just want to give a name to file, it's up to you. If you do not want to give, leave it blank. It's fine. Click on OK. Schema import, obviously it is not allowed because we need to just set the account this with specific does not exist. We need to just enable one service in order to just do that. It is called, I think, interactive runtime. So as you can see, operation return in multi-status code, account this, destination sync data not exist, because obviously this column is not there, so it cannot just show us the sync data folder. But that doesn't mean like we cannot proceed, bro. We can proceed. Simply click on none, because we do not need to import schema. No. Click on OK. It's fine. Then there is something called as mapping. So mapping is basically used to map your data when we just need to ensure like, okay, we need this particular data type of each column, everything. In this particular scenario, we do not need that. Then settings. Settings really important. So if you want to enable fault tolerance, let's say your data is currently having some corrupted data, you can just get rid of that. Simply click on this drop down and simply skip incompatible rows. That's it. And just uncheck this box because we do not need to store the logs for that. Simple. And you are good to go. simply click on debug. Debug means you want to run your pipeline. Okay, so now it is running your pipeline, and now you will see everything, and you will see actually data will be copied. Okay, so I just wanted to show you a little demo how you can just work with Azure Data Factory. And don't worry, I still remember that surprise. So just be with me for a few more seconds. So as you can see, copy my data is done, and it shows succeeded. Let me just validate the data. I will simply go to destination, and I should see that new folder. Perfect, sync data. And I will just go inside this. Perfect, I have the file. So I have successfully copied the data from raw data container into the destination container using pipeline in just 5 minutes. See, I hardly took, I think, 5 minutes to create the pipeline. And I just explained the concept as well. Meanwhile, it is so simple, but it is not that simple. It is just the basic. I wouldn't even call it as basics. It is like just a prerequisite. Actually, Azure Data Factory is very much in detail. And if you just want to learn Azure Data Factory, let me just share you with the best resource. Simply go to YouTube and simply search Ansh Lamba Azure Data Factory. Simply search it, and this is the video. This is the one. And bro, I'm not just, you can say, doing promotion for my video. You can simply read the comments, and you will get to know why this video is the one-stop solution for you. This video has covered everything from scratch. And do you want to know the level of scratch? The basics that I have just mentioned, I have even covered these basics in very much in detail. So can you imagine? And by the end of this video, you will be able to crack the interview. So just imagine the level of complexity we will be dealing with in this video. This is like one-stop solution. Just read the comments before watching the video. Just read the comments. It's up to you. This is the best one-stop solution. It's up to you. Just watch this video and you're good to go. You're good to crack the interviews. Trust me. So this is your resource for Azure Data Factory. Let's see what next resource we have in Azure space. Now let's talk about this powerful tool, which is very much popular nowadays, which is Azure Databricks. First of all, let me just tell you like why do we use this tool and why it is so powerful and why it is so popular. So let's say we have the data. We have used Azure Data Factory to migrate the data from one place to another. Then we want to process that data. We want to use that data, let's say source, and we want to process that data using Azure Databricks. Why? Because Azure Databricks manages your Spark clusters. Yes, it manages your Spark clusters. And Spark is the OG. Spark is the OG of big data. Spark is the distributed computing engine, is the distributed computing framework which is available across big data domain, or let's say in the data space, with the help of which we can actually process our data by distributing your big data to multiple machines. And for this, we create Spark clusters. Okay. Databricks came into the picture and it said, hey bro, you just want to use Spark? We said yes. It said, I will create a management layer on top of your Spark clusters and I will take care of all the clusters, all the scaling, everything, all the networking overhead. You just need to use Spark. We said okay. And when it actually did it, people loved that. People genuinely loved that because they did not want to just take care of your clusters, or they didn't want to take care of their networking overhead when they just create the VMs. VMs is like just virtual machines. They were just using Spark. They were just using PySpark code. That's it. And that's why it is the most popular tool nowadays. And it is, let's say, one of the most important tool right now that you should learn. And I wouldn't say should learn, you have to learn, bro. Azure Databricks is the most in demand tool right now when you just work with big data. Yes. Okay. So now Everything is fine. We got to know that we have Spark clusters, we have data processing capabilities, we have distributed computing engine. Like, how we can just get started with Azure Databricks? So, bro, Databricks is such a wide topic. It is more wider than your data factory. Yes, trust me, because we have so much of stuff in Databricks. But let me just share the resources that you can refer to just get started with Azure Databricks. So just go to, oops, I was just taking some screenshots. So just go to your YouTube and just search Azure Databricks full course maybe. Yeah, because I wouldn't encourage to watch few videos of the playlist. No, Azure Databricks is the technology that you have to watch in one go. You cannot break the flow. So just search Azure Databricks full course and let's see what we get. Very good. So we get my video. By the way, again, just go and read the comments of this video. And why I'm just showing you this thing, because I have two videos and I get like so many questions related to it. So if you are a beginner, obviously you will just go to my channel, you will see, hey Ansh, there are two videos, which one should I watch first? Obviously, if I have just uploaded this video first, this video should be watched first. And if you just, let's say by mistake, or let's say if you just clicked on this video, in the beginning of this video I have just clarified everything. I don't know. So the thing is, if you're a beginner, my recommendation to you would be just get started with any video. Trust me, because both the videos have like everything from scratch. So now you would say, what is the difference between both the videos? Because both the videos are different in terms of using the current architecture, because we have some updates in the world of Databricks. If you get started with this video, you will still be able to get all the concepts, and this video will be covering all the modern concepts. If you will be landing on this video will cover all the concepts that were there before the modern architecture, that will help you to understand the modern architecture better. So my recommendation to you would be, bro, if you are just trying to crack the interviews, just watch both the videos. Simple answer, short answer, just watch both the videos, and trust me, you will be more than happy the information, the knowledge that you will get after watching these two videos. Because I have myself like referred to so many documentation, like referred to so many sources of knowledge and concluded everything here. So just go with both the videos and you will definitely feel really good. Okay, this was just for your Databricks. Okay. So now let's talk about the other technology. Like, what do we have next? Let's see. Now let's talk about this most important technology, or let's say service, let's say resource that we have available when we want to process our data in the real-time manner. Yes. So if we want to just perform real-time streaming on our data, this is a service that you have to use. Without it, it is very difficult to manage. So basically, what happens when we work with real-time data? There will be some source which will be streaming the data. Now, what can be these sources? These sources can be your IoT devices. This source can be your, let's say, weather API. This source can be your, let's say, any kind of social media, which is just processing like everything in the real time. So these are the sources which can be considered as, let's say, real time data source generator. So these can be your sources. So this is continuously processing the data continuously in the form of streams. Okay, so now we need a solution which can actually ingest the data in the real time manner. So that is why we have a technology called Azure Event Hub. Basically, it will simply ingest the data. It will simply ingest the data in the real-time manner. And one more feature that it provides. So now you would say, hey, data is being processed in a real-time manner. So it will simply ingest the data from one place and it will just push the data to the other place. That's right. But it also provides us a temporarily, not temporarily, yeah, you can say like temporary solution to store the data as well. Like just the temporary solution. So we cannot say, hey, we are just ingesting the data and we can just keep it in Azure Events Hub for let's say an year. No, you cannot do that. It will ingest the data because when we just ingest real-time data, we ingest, let's say, I think thousands or let's say 100,000 plus or let's say millions of records in the real-time manner. So what it will do, it will store, it will hold the data for some time, let's say for few days, until that particular data is being consumed by the consumers. So now what are the consumers? So the best consumer of Azure Events Hub is Azure Stream Analytics, which just processes your data with low no code. Okay. Second best consumer is Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake that we have just seen. Okay. So now we can just push this data because Azure Blob Storage is a storage solution, right? We can push our data to the blob storage directly from Azure Events Hub. And now it's up to us if we want to use, let's say, Azure Databricks, or let's say any other technology to process the data using Spark or anything. It's up to us because now data is secured because we have the data. So this will be automatically and in near real time, it will be just pushing this data to the data lake. Makes sense? So it is just a temporary solution and it is an alternative to Apache Kafka, which also stores or holds your data in the form of messages. This holds your data in the form of events. Name is different. Only the name is different. Everything else is same. So it will just hold your data temporarily until that data is being consumed by the consumers. Now, what is Stream Analytics? Stream Analytics is again, like you can say, a kind of processing tool so that we can just apply some transformations on top of your streaming data and we can just push that data to the desired location, such as let's say Azure Cosmos DB, maybe SQL DB. Maybe we just need to directly create Power BI reports on top of it. It's up to us. But that is a second part of this, like when we just consume this data. But main thing is establishing the Azure Events Hub. And now you know like why Apache Kafka is very much in demand, because people are using near real-time data. But what? Now you also know how to use Apache Kafka because you are using managed layer built on top of Apache Kafka, which is Azure Events Hub. Okay, so now let's see how we can just create Azure Events Hub, and I will just also show you a demo. I will just show you like how you can just ingest the data from these kind of resources, and I will just show you how you can just push the data to the data lake as well. Let me show you. So in order to create your Azure Events Hub resource, simply click on plus create and then simply search Azure Events Hub. Hit enter. Do we have anything? Yeah, this one. So sometimes you need to just find out. You can simply search Events Hub, Event Hubs, not Events Hub. Click on it and then simply click on create. Then you will simply see something called as namespace. Yeah, create namespace. So this is your namespace. Azure Event Hubs is basically the resource name, and within that we create something called as Azure Event Hub namespace. Okay, so simply give the namespace name. This is nothing but a kind of resource name. I will simply say Azure Funda Ansh if it is available. Yeah, pricing tier is the main thing. This is really costly, and the minimum one we have is like 11 USD per TU is I think throughput units. So simply pick this one, and then throughput units I think we would need some, let's say like 4 or let's say 3, like just keep it 4. Okay, so it will be somewhere around to 11 USD. I know it's expensive, yeah, So just click on next. Then it is saying TLS version, it is fine. Click on networking, public access is fine, tags, it's fine, review plus create. So it is just creating this one, and I will simply delete this after this after this video. Bro, it's very expensive. So I just wanted to show you so that you can just feel happy that you are learning something. See, I feel so possessive for you. Just click on create. Just click on create. So it will just create the Azure Event Hub's namespace for you. So it is currently deploying that particular resource, and it should just deploy it very, very soon. So I can just check the status here as well. By the way, Azure Events Hub is a great choice when you do not need to manage your Kafka. Okay, because obviously when you use Kafka, you need to just take care of all the code. But this is a kind of management layer built on top of Kafka. Like, it is not like it is actually built on top of Kafka, but you can treat it like this, that you have something called as open source Kafka and you have management layer on top of it. So you will be feeling that you are using Kafka without any kind of hustle because everything is managed by Azure. Okay. So it is deployed. Simply go to resource. Then this is your Azure Event Hub. And within this, we create something called as hubs. Similar to Data Lake, we create containers. In this, we create something called as hub. So simple. First of all, let's create a hub. Okay, simply go inside this. And now we just need to give a name. Let's say I want to give Ansh hub. Okay, partition count, let's keep it 1. When we just store our data in the events, like in the form of events, we can create partitions. But for now, like 1 partition is enough. And cleanup policy is obviously delete. Okay. And what is retention hours? As I just mentioned while explaining the concept, it is not a permanent storage solution. It just stores the data temporarily, and it is a kind of retention policy that it follows. So when we say, hey, just retain our data for 1 hour, or let's say 10 hours, 1 hour is too less. So let's say retain our data till 10 hours. So it will just retain that data for like 10 hours till the time it gets any consumers. And once the consumer consumes the data, it will just be fine. Okay, data is consumed. Now the question is, let's say data arrived and one consumer, and consumer can be anyone like Databricks, Stream Analytics, Power BI, anyone. So if that consumer, by the way, Power BI cannot directly use the Events Hub, it uses it through Stream Analytics. Okay, so when it gets the consumer, so will that data, or let's say, will the events be removed? No, not immediately. Because the thing is, let's say you have multiple consumers. So it will just try to keep that data till that time. And once the retention period is over, then it will just remove the data. Then only it will remove the data. Otherwise, it will not remove the data. Okay, so this is like retention policy. I will just keep it for 1. Okay, then next capture. It's fine. Review plus create, and then just click on create. Very good. Now it is done, and you can simply check the data explorer. Yeah, so this is a kind of UI that you will be seeing. Okay, and then let me just show you the settings. Settings have just like normal settings and entities. These are your event hub, and it will just show all the hubs that you have. Currently we just have 1. Then monitoring, obviously you can just monitor the activity, like data is being ingested. Then automation, then we have help. Azure Events Hub resource is created. So now you will say, hey, we want to explore this cool resource and we do not have any kind of streaming source. That makes sense because we do not have any weather API, we do not have any kind of streaming source. How we can just use this resource without having any streaming source? Thanks to Azure, it has just provided a cool feature with the help of which we can actually use the streaming source. Let me just tell you how. Simply go to towards your left pane and you will be seeing Data Explorer. Simply click on it. Then you will see something, send events. So it will basically provide you a streaming source that it has already created, and it will just in like create the data for you, that you can ingest it, that you can use it as your streaming source. So simply click on send events, and then it has some sample data sets which have data in semi-structured format, obviously in the form of JSON. And then you can just treat that data set as your streaming source. Super cool. Let's say we have multiple data sets. Just pick anyone. Let's say weather data. Okay. So it is just creating this data. So currently we have data, as you can see, for USA and city New York, and date is this one, temperature is 20, humidity 60, 20 degrees. Oh, wow, nice man. Then this is data. This is the data. So we can actually see, let's say this is our weather API, and this is the data it is going to create. And now the moment I will hit send, I will ingest this data automatically using this sample data set. Let me just show you. Let me just click on send and see completed sending one event. So it is just sending one event. So simply go to events. Okay, and then just go to, where's my events. Just go to entities. Yeah, event hubs. So just click on this on shop. Then just click on this data explorer, and then you will see something called as, scroll it down, view events. So it will just show you all the events that have taken place so far. Obviously we know that we have just ingested only one event. So this is the sequence number. It starts from 0, and this is the timing, and it is the data event body that is carrying your real data. So we can also export the events. Then let's say I want to send another data. Click on send events, and I can simply say repeat send, and then I can simply say, or let's pick weather data for one more time. Okay, then simply say send. So now send 10 events to event hub. What do we mean by 10 events? So basically it is just sending 10 events, like 10 records within that, because we can have multiple events. So every JSON entity is treated as one event. Simple. Very good. So let me just see the events for one more time. I should see now two events, because not two events, two party, like say two iterations. See, now it is saying that sending that data sequence 0 to 10. Why? Because we have just enabled sending 10 events. So this time it has sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And every event has different event body, because every data is being treated as one event. Make sense? Make sense, make sense, make sense. And obviously content type is in the form of JSON, as we know that. And this is the message ID. So that's why I told you, like, this is similar to Kafka. Okay, this saves the data in the form of messages temporarily, and now this data can be used by any consumer. It can be used by your real Stream Analytics, by Databricks, by Synapse Analytics, like by anything. But the best combination is with the Stream Analytics. I can just show you Stream Analytics as well. So first of all, let me just delete this, because I don't want this. So let me just click on delete, and the namespace is this one. Click on delete. So deleting namespace. So it will just delete this namespace. Okay, perfect. This is deleted. So let me just go back to my resource group, and I should not see this. Still I'm seeing, because it is not refreshed. So it takes, I think, few minutes to just actually delete it. So if I just click on it, it will just say resource not found. That means it is deleted. Okay, so it's fine. So now let me show you how you can just create Stream Analytics as well in order to use this. So we can just simply say Stream Analytics. Simple. By the way, Stream Analytics is like a vast topic in itself. So obviously we are not covering it in this video. And this is your Stream Analytics job that you can just create, and this resource can use that data as a source. It can perform, let's say, transformation, and it can simply just push that data to the destination. And this is the future of Azure data engineering when we're dealing with the real-time data. Make sense? So if you want me to just create the video on this, like dedicated video on Stream Analytics, just let me know in the comment section. But before writing that, create the video on Stream Analytics, just say I love this video. Only then I will create the video. I'm just kidding. Obviously, bro, you can just provide the feedback, the comments, right? So this was all about Azure Stream Analytics and your real-time data within Azure. And I hope now you have a great understanding of the concepts. I hope. So now the last resource for today is Azure Synapse Analytics. I know was the primary technology, primary tool that was used to build Azure data engineering solutions. Basically, this is like end-to-end data analytics solution. Really, yeah. So what it does, as you all know now about Azure Data Factory, we already know about Azure Databricks. So what it does, it basically combines your ADF plus Spark. That's it. In short, it is equal to Synapse. ADF plus Spark. Now we would say, why not ADF plus Azure Databricks? So basically the thing is, Azure Databricks is not owned by Azure. Databricks is owned by Databricks. Yes, it is available as first party service provider in Azure, but it is not owned by Azure. That is why Azure has its own Spark cluster management layers, has own Spark notebooks. It is available in Synapse Analytics. So that is why I written ADF plus Spark becomes Synapse notebook. Bro, what you are saying? Wait, hold on. ADF plus Spark notebooks, when we add both resources, it becomes Azure Synapse Analytics. That's it. Obviously, we have one more thing which is called SQL Data Warehouse, and this is now renamed as dedicated SQL pool, because serverless SQL pool is a new thing. So dedicated SQL pool. Now it is renamed as dedicated SQL pool. Earlier it was known as SQL Data Warehouse. So when we combine these three things, ADF, Spark, SQL Data Warehouse or dedicated SQL pool, it becomes Synapse Analytics. So that means now you will say, hey, don't we need to use Azure Data Factory for now? If you are building something new, then you can simply use Azure Data Factory within Synapse. Yes, we get the Azure Data Factory features within Synapse, so you do not need to explicitly create Azure Data Factory. But if you are just using combination of Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks, that usually companies do, then obviously you will be just using Azure Data Factory. That is why I say when you just master Azure Data Factory, you have already mastered half of the Synapse Analytics, because half of the Synapse Analytics is Data Factory. When you master Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks, you have already mastered 75% of your Synapse Analytics. Then only 25% is left. Oh, so can we say that Databricks is most of the it is mostly similar to Synapse Spark notebooks? Yes. Working is same, fundamental is same, functionality is same. Behind the scenes, how they manage the cluster is different, but we do not need to care about that, because we are paying Azure, we are paying Databricks to take care of that thing. So if we are paying to a company to take care of that, why do you need to just take stress of it? Makes sense, right? So if you are already familiar with Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, Synapse is 75% done. You just need to do this part, which is not a big thing. Not a big thing at all. Again, if you just want to just check out the video, the best video that I have created, because I remember that I created a detailed video on Synapse Analytics because I was receiving lots of comments like just create the Synapse Analytics video. I have created dedicated video on this thing, dedicated SQL pool and serverless SQL pool both. Basically, now they have added serverless SQL pool as well. And this is the thing that we use in lakehouse solutions, in let's say modern data engineering solutions. So this is the thing that people were demanding, and this is the thing that is in demand as well. So if you just want to learn serverless SQL pool, dedicated SQL pool, and everything regarding data warehousing, just watch the video on my channel. I can just show you if I have open here. So you can simply just click on my video and then just go to my channel and then go to videos and just search Synapse video. Yeah, Synapse full course. So this is the video that you can definitely watch if you want to master data warehousing using Synapse, and this is a full course for like 4+ hours, like around 4 hours. And this has genuinely like discussed everything about Synapse data warehousing, including both dedicated SQL pool plus Synapse serverless SQL pool, both from scratch. So you can definitely watch this video as well, and this will give you a strong hands-on in serverless SQL pool and dedicated SQL pool. And obviously, if you're just applying for Azure data engineering solutions role, or let's say Azure data engineering positions without Synapse, so just learn Synapse and just master the technologies. And now I hope that you have a strong base ready. I hope that now you know a lot of stuff in the world of Azure, and now not only just base, now you have a kind of roadmap ready for you, because I have explained almost everything that revolves around data space, that revolves around data engineering. Now I have given you the resources that you need to learn, that you need to master: Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, Synapse Analytics. I have already mentioned some Azure Events Hub, Azure Real-Time Stream Analytics. That is still secondary things. But Data Factory, Databricks, Synapse Analytics, these three things must to do. And trust me, once you complete this video, once you complete your Azure Data Factory video, Databricks video, both Databricks video, okay, and third Synapse video, just sit in the interviews and just mark my words. These are my words. You will DM me on LinkedIn or like on any platform, and you will definitely say thanks to me. Trust me. Just follow my guidelines, just follow my words. That's it. That's it. And if you just want to connect with me, just follow me, just follow me. Okay. And by the way, just hit the subscribe button right now, because I know you loved this video. Just share this video with your friends who are just trying really hard to just enter into Azure space. I know like this space is really complex and people are making it more and more complex. I don't know why. So now you know what's the best place to learn Azure solutions and everything about like around data engineering, bro. But yeah, I personally love Azure, so just just hit that subscribe button. And one thing, the video that is coming on the screen, this video I have specifically put it for you, because after watching this video it will definitely increase your hands-on. Okay, so just click on the video right now and I will see you there. Happy learning.